Welcome back to Race to Office. Last time, the Deem election has passed, and Midion has been selected as the candidate for that Deem, and they'll move on to the Paralia election. For now, though, Okbanax. The moment you step out from your shack into the small courtyard at the entrance of your home, you can tell that it's going to be a slow day. Charnax has been busy with her usual theological pursuits and even left to go to Goderluca to speak with Hellion priests there about some of her more deeper questions about their pantheon. Eluzor told you he would be absorbed in his study of mathematics and visiting other wise men in the city, as he has a particular fascination with geometry and alchemy. Thus, after receiving a cup of tea from a cellist, there are 3 people in your courtyard. There's a cellist standing to the side of the door. He's become your attendant, kind of, after Tritnos left. Like, the two of them bounced off each other energy-wise, but now that it's just a cellist, he just kind of sits and listens to you and doesn't make many snarky comments. Then there's Priamnios. He's still working his way through the Eugeminian classics, so he doesn't really spark conversations very often. And the final figure who's seated here is a man that you haven't seen in a while. He has broad shoulders, a tight-fitting tunic, haunted eyes, shaggy blonde hair, scars across his face, and a birthmark on his left hand. He also has a wooden sword and a scabbard, which is the closest thing to a weapon that people can carry in the city. This is Tridion, your haunted friend.
The one with the ghosts?
Mm-hmm.
Do I have him written about on my sheet?
You do.
Yeah, oh, there he is. Okay, that's right. He's listed as a friend, not a student. Okay, excellent. And they're just out to, hear my my musings, or?
Yeah, Priamnios is off in a corner reading a book, but Tridion is seated, and he seems to be looking at you. You know, he seems to have come here with a purpose.
Okay. Trinion, it's been a while.
He starts to stand up to speak to you, and then you hear like footsteps on the far end of the courtyard, and you hear a bellowing voice say, "Okbanax, I brought a guest!" And, you know, Tridion was about to say something. He's been interrupted. Mydor now enters the square with another guildsman next to him, and he says, It's a wonderful day. I have great news for you."
Oh, hello, Mydor. It's good to see you. Who's this?
The man next to him is clearly a guildsman. You know, he has a sort of like ink-stained hands and a white toga, which marks him as an office holder of Zuri, but you don't particularly recognize him. And Mydor will say, "This here is Meror. He's the new master of ceremonies for this year. New, it's been 6 months, but he's sort of your boss."
Oh, well, it's very nice to meet you. Remind me your name?
The man will extend a hand, and he's like nervously looking around the square. He looks out towards the street with a bit of nervousness, and he says, Meror.
Meror.
Yes.
It's very nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you as well. Mydor here speaks greatly of your services to the community. He asked me to come here to reevaluate how much you receive.
Oh, well, you know, I'm really doing just fine. I don't mean to be asking for much more. I have enough to provide for my community.
Yes, Mydor insisted you would say that. Could we talk in your home?
Sure. Do you have much time today, or I was going to speak with some of my students first?
I'd rather it be now. I don't want to be seen out on the street.
Please come in.
And Mydor will remain in the courtyard, and he has this big smile on his face. You've never seen that nervous little fidgety carpenter look so excited. But he'll stay outside, and Meror will head into your shack. And as you're walking into your shack and you open up the door, you recall a detail. You don't know the Master of Ceremonies very well. Like you said, you know, your funds are fine. You don't need more. But you do recall a couple of months ago, there was a scandal, the Black Cockerel scandal, named after the bar in question, in which some member of the government basically embezzled 1,200 gold to renovate their local bar. And just based
How many
on this
pence is that?
1.2 million.
Okay, yeah, good.
And based on this guy's level of nervousness, I think you're starting to wonder if there's a connection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, explain who embezzled again?
Probably this guy, this master of ceremonies you're talking to.
Okay.
But yeah, he'll walk into your shack.
I'm talk to him about ethics. That's not a good thing to do.
He'll sit down at your, I guess, table. It's not really a dining table. It's just a table. He'll sit down and look around. It's quite modest.
Thank you.
So, Midor has expressed that your current living conditions limit the types of students that you're receiving. Do you think that's true?
Uh, Alex, this I know I should be able to come up with this, but I
Sure.
actually don't know. I don't know much about the neighborhood I live in.
Yeah, it's
Um,
so you're in the firmly in the craftsman district of the city, which sounds like the guildsmen, but it's a little bit different, mostly because guildsmen are people who have been in these guilds for generation. They're incredibly wealthy. They're like higher ups. You're in the area where they actually make the pottery, so sometimes you'll get whiffs of like lacquer or just other industrial products in your courtyard. But other than that, it's safe.
okay.
It's fine.
Well, all places limit who you're going to see. Different people live in different places, so limited seems strong, but it does have an impact, sure.
Have you ever had a desire to get a symposium or gymnasium of your own?
Hmm. I can't say I wouldn't be interested.
Well, you said that you didn't find yourself wanting. This seems, I can understand that. Your food and drinks seem to be taken care of. How many students do you typically have?
On an average day, maybe 5 or 6 attendees, but I've got a cast of up to 2 dozen that come by. Of
And Midor mentioned you don't charge.
course not.
You can see that the calculus he's doing is like a step removed from your conversation. He's thinking about like maybe how this will look to voters. Like he's thinking about something other than your immediate circumstances.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say that internally this feels a lot like when that other guy, the family member, the uncle, was like
Yeah.
looking us up and down like cattle.
Yeah.
Um,
He's thinking this through.
yeah.
Have you ever I wasn't very familiar with your work. Have you ever run for office or done any speeches before the tribe?
I've never run for any office myself.
Uh,
And speeches before I mean, I've spoken publicly, but
yes,
nothing
but
that I
not
think would
in
be too divisive.
political capacity. All right. Well,
I've spoken on philosophical topics that I find political, but never explicitly in favor of a party.
that must be why I haven't heard of you. Up until last year, I was just a sponsor of artists and such.
Oh.
All right. Well, I'm not sure if I'll be able to get you additional funding. Of course, the assembly needs to approve any recommendations I make, but it seems like you're doing good work here. Free education is a beautiful thing in Zuri. Do you think you'll be looking for more students?
Certainly. I'm always willing to make more time for more students.
All
So
right.
if you had resources that would help make my teachings more accessible to more people, that would be appreciated.
Well, I could also push some students your way. I know that our current Strategoi, Lycor, his son is getting near the age where he should start attending symposium or gymnasium. If you
Sure.
could promise a well-rounded education, I could speak to Lycor.
Yes, certainly.
Alrighty. Well, he'll give a nod and say, "Whatever you're doing, keep up the good work. My door at practically every guild's function speaks of how you've assisted him, so..."
My door is a good man, and I'm glad that he feels helped by the discussions we've had, the many discussions that we've had.
Yes. Do you have a back entrance to your house?
Um, I'm gonna look around. It's like one room. He can see
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Afraid not.
Alrighty then. I'll just have to brave the street.
But Mayor, is there any chance you would like to stay for a lecture? I could bring the students in here, and so you wouldn't have to be out there.
I suppose.
Nice, we got him. All right, I'm going
yeah.
to. We don't. I'll let you choose if we roleplay this, but I'd like to call in the students, and I would like to, while this guy is here, focus on helping Midor because he's kind of a simple case and I know how to talk to him and I'm really good at it. Versus
Sure.
Tridion, which is like I'm a ghost hunter, and I think that I don't want to say that in front of the
Yeah,
politician.
that would it does make you both come off as a little bit schizo.
So
Yeah.
instead I'm gonna do Midor, which is like my very nice, like, oh look at this. I'm telling him what a chair is.
Yeah, your room
Um,
becomes nice and busy with, Mydor and Tridion and Achelnus and Preamnion and then, Preamnios and then Meror here. And yeah, Mydor comes to you with the usual problem. Though today, this doesn't give him like the deep existential dread that it does most days. Like most days, he struggles to even get out the question because it like stresses him out. But today, he just asks you like, oh, what is the value of a tool? And it's a pretty straightforward thing. It's just like
yeah.
cutting past all the you can quickly just explain like, hey, it's just a thing that you use to make a thing. It's not that it's not that complicated. He's like, oh yeah. Meror doesn't seem particularly engaged with the lecture, though most of that is because he's constantly glancing towards the singular open window in your shack, like looking out towards the street. Being a politician in Zuri is very stressful, and especially being a politician when people are really fucking angry at you. And so he's like constantly glancing towards the window as the lecture.
All right, yeah.
Continues.
So I'm going to keep it quick with Midor then. I'm going to just try and give like very assertive answers to his questions that might get him quiet sooner. And then I'm going to thank him very much for coming because it seems that he doesn't want to be here.
Yeah. Mydor will nod and say, yes, I'll bring him back to his office safely. Wouldn't want any incidents again. And Mydor's chuckling to himself as he like wraps his arm around Meror.
Incidents again. Oh my god. Okay, I want to like inspect this guy. Does it look like he got beat?
Not
Does he have like a
recently,
black eye?
though.
Okay.
He does have a smell to him, kind of like a fermented smell.
What? Why didn't you start with that? Why didn't you open with that?
It's a subtle thing. It's like you weren't sniffing him.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. He smells fermented. What's to do with
Mydor
that?
and Meror will leave the shack and make their way back out onto the street. And as they like near the exit of your courtyard, you see Meror pull a little like hood up and over his shoulders. He looks like a thief skulking at night, not one of the 4 politicians of the city. And yeah, that leaves you with Tridion and your 2 students.
Okay. Right. Well, does anybody have something they wished to discuss today, or shall we return to the curriculum?
Achilles will say, "It seems a bit bizarre to me that a politician like him would be so frightened in Hago, and like him would walk around proudly. If anyone threw things at them, they'd be executed."
What good is it to execute a man after he's already thrown enough at you that you die yourself?
Prevent others from doing it in the future? Is this not the basis of all societies, the threat of violence?
Sure, but what good is it to him? He's the one experiencing the fear.
I suppose you're right. Either way, you're all a bit unruly. A politician should never fear the people of his city.
That I agree with. I think that a politician should never do something to put themselves in a place where they would need to fear the people.
What'd he even do?
I need not get into it.
He shrugs. And Tridion will stand up. He's been like kind of fidgeting nervously in the corner and say, well, I did have something.
Of course.
I'll be honest, I've been visiting other wise men. I went to apothecaries throughout the city, practitioners of Western and Eastern medicine forms. I even visited a dwarf. But the haunting has just gotten worse lately. I can hardly sleep.
Goodness. I'm so sorry to hear this.
I can even hear them now.
What are they saying?
He starts to like tap his fingers together kind of nervously, kind of like scratch his neck, fidgeting a bit. Violent things.
Like?
Telling me to do violent things.
Oh. Like?
I don't want to give a voice to those whispers.
Well, what do they sound like?
They sound like men.
Like men, not like elves
No.
from the desert?
No.
Oh, okay. What kind of change has happened recently. You say that they're getting louder. Is that correct?
More consistent. It used to be just at night, but I also see them sometimes now, not just hearing.
You see them.
Yes, only in the
Well,
depths of night, though. Sometimes when I fall asleep, I wake up and my body's frozen and I see them in the corner.
my goodness. What do they look like?
The corpses of men that I once knew.
God. Is there something connecting them? Is it their voices that you hear?
Sometimes it's... I can't explain it, but I don't recognize the voices, but I know they're men that I killed.
Ah. Are they all men that you killed?
Mostly.
Have you ever been accursed by some witch or hag?
How would I know?
Well, some people know. You haven't known to have been accursed by some being.
There were people who, on their deathbed, before I sent them to a better place, who made, curses, but none of them seemed witches.
What kinds of curses? Anything particular stand out?
About 6 years ago, when I was serving in on the Tabrashan Plains in a petty dispute between two princes, we raided a village and stole all of its cattle and sheep, goats, all their livestock, all their food, condemned them to starve for the winter. And one of the people there, an older man, condemned me to die starving.
Well, that doesn't seem to apply. Are you eating fine these days?
Not really, but unrelated to the vision.
Oh.
I just don't have much of an appetite.
Unrelated to the vision, you don't have much of an appetite?
It's hard to eat when I can hear people whispering in my ear.
Yes, sure. Sure. Wow.
One of my neighbors mentioned that at night, I also can sometimes scream out in my sleep.
Oh. What, did you learn anything interesting from the other wise men that you've spoken to?
One of them issued me a sleep aid, and that worked at nighttime. I never woke up again, but it didn't solve the whispers during the day, and I never felt fully rested.
Well, I recommend you stop taking the sleep aid, as I think that relieving the ability for the voices to talk at night will make them go away in the daytime. Probably some amount of screaming at you that they have to get out.
Yes. One of the men, a Western practitioner of medicine from, one of the northern kingdoms, he said that I was mad.
No, you're not mad. It's just ghosts.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I told him, but...
Don't trust northerners.
Yes. That was my indication as well. And you notice his eyes kind of dart down towards your, arm. He doesn't say anything, but he's looking at something.
Oh,
That much
he's
is
gonna
very
do
clear.
violence to me. Okay. Are they telling you to hurt me?
No, it's not voices.
Oh.
Does
What
that
is it?
not itch?
I look at my arm. Is there something that looks like it would itch?
No, it's just a normal arm.
Does what not itch?
The cicadas.
You see bugs on me.
Well, in you. Are they not there?
Bugs in me? How do you see in me?
Well, they're unburrowing.
I'm gonna look down again.
Yeah, it's just a normal arm.
Yeah. My friend, I fear that you're seeing things.
Well, the ghosts are persistent.
Yes, but no, I'm doing just fine, friend.
I assume so. You weren't reacting. Most people would scream.
Yes. Do cicadas have any significance to you? You ever use cicadas to burn some village or something?
No. They lived. If you've ever been to Gladell during certain summers, one of the broods will awaken, and the entire night, erupts in their sounds of rubbing their little forearms together.
Sure.
But you don't have many out here. Well, any as far as I can tell.
Well,
I thought that, since you have your theories of magics and such, you and a colleague, someone that could keep you safe in the incident that I have a particularly bad dream, could perhaps go to my house, see if perhaps that's the haunted place. I have enough that I could change apartments if it is that.
yeah, certainly. I have just the friend in mind.
Righty. Well, I need to go to the bricklayers today, but I can come back when evening falls.
I'll see you then.
Thank you. And he'll exit from the house, and you notice when he gets nervous, he has kind of like this nervous tick of grabbing the wooden sword. Again, not like he can't actually kill anyone with that. It's just to make himself feel more reassured.
Yeah.
And he just white knuckle grips it as he's leaving your shack. And Priamnios, he's like looking up from his tomes, and he raises an eyebrow. He just looks at
What?
you. I mean,
Speak.
not to impugn your wisdom, but is he not just insane?
Why would he be insane? Do you not believe in ghosts?
Well, of course, it'd be foolish to not believe in ghosts. And curses and such. I mean, they're certainly real, but I suppose I'm lacking in the field of magical knowledge.
He's a war veteran who... He's a war veteran who has raided dozens of villages, killed countless people that he knows nothing about. If anybody is to be haunted by ghosts, it's quite likely him.
But is he worthy of your help if he is the killer that he self-reports to be?
Yes, sure. He's still man. And a good man. If you are up to date with my publications, you'd know that I do not frown upon war entirely. I don't know his reasons for it.
But how can a good man be a killer?
There are perfectly good reasons to kill.
Seems more like killing would be a necessary eventuality rather than a good action to do. Perhaps
If something is
man.
necessary, that makes it good. And there are maybe many reasons that is necessary. See, everybody thinks about this in the short term. They always picture that if a man was about to kill you, and the only way that you could prevent it is by killing him first, well then sure, it's a necessary eventuality, you would say. But if you found out that a man was going to kill you in 10 years, and the only thing you could do about it was kill him now, everybody starts to freeze up and hesitate. Now, if you think about a man who could ruin an entire society 100 years from now, you think that it's... people say, no, you can't go to war with him. But if you know for a fact that he will hurt far more people in the future, or create something that hurts far more people, it is a necessary eventuality, as you like to put it, that you kill him.
But if we use the future to impact our actions in the present, would that not result in everyone always attacking each other out of fear of what will happen in the future? Not a dissimilar situation as to what we have today?
Not if we all act... If the people don't want to be killed by some threat of what they might do in the future, they shouldn't have bad envisionments of what the future should be. A man who acts righteously and good will not be killed for what he might create, because he will not be seen as someone who would create something like that.
Then what of the Athnaween? Their long-term intentions, or at least that of their leaders, is quite clear. They wish to reclaim what they call Athelbar and Anwebar. They wish for us not to be here.
Correct, which is why we have to go to war with them. It is a moral obligation that at some point we fight them.
He thinks about that and doesn't say much else.
Yep.
So, who are you going to bring with you to Tridion's apartment?
Oh, Midian.
Midian, okay. Alrighty.
Yeah, he's my top G.
Yeah, you make your way from the city, and you head out to the rural hills area around Zuri, all on foot, because you don't have a horse or anything like that. So it takes the better part of an hour to go walk, and you find yourself out at a small little ranch, pretty much indistinguishable to the many other tenant farms, with the one exception that you've actually been here before. Out in the fields, you can see a number of people working. There's a group of like 8 people all out in one field working with like 3 or 4 children, a couple of adults. One of the adults is really drunk and kind of staggering, and at the center of this group of 8 or so people, you see Midian kind of directing the efforts of what you now assume to be his family, because they all look kind of like him. Yeah, directing them as they begin to sow the harvest.
Yeah. Midian! I kind of shout from a distance.
Midian's yelling over at his son. I know there's a lot of work in you, boy, because I haven't seen a lot come out yet.
I don't want to work. I don't want to.
Akvanax, hello. What brings you here?
I was going to ask a favor of you.
Huh? Wiping his hands off, walking over.
Yes, I'll wait till you get close, because I don't want to say it loud enough that your dumb kids can hear this. Sounds like they're not to be trusted. It's good to see you, friend.
Likewise.
Well, listen, an acquaintance of mine, an old friend, it appears that he's been haunted by ghosts, and he is wondering if the source of them might be that he lives in an accursed or desecrated place. And so he has asked for me to investigate and see if I could maybe find the cause of this. But I'd like to go with a friend, as it could be somewhere dangerous, and you were the first to come to mind.
Shoot. I mean, we are actually getting pretty close for the day. How is this
Seems that
going?
your kids have it under control. I look over at what the kids are up to.
Yeah, his brother has taken over, like, organizing the family after Midian walked away, and his brother is now drunkenly, like, leaning on his 14-year-old nephew, being like, no, you stabbed that thing, and there's no stabbing involved in pruning the harvest.
All right,
So shall we?
Is Midian's wife outside, Alex?
Yeah, she is. She's off to the side in her own little section, pulling out weeds.
All right. You okay running this if I'm right? If I go off with Oxpanax here?
She'll stand up and say, all right, Procyon. And your brother, like, shoots upright at the scolding tone, and she says, go inside, you're worthless. And he just looks at you, and he looks really hurt by that statement, but he'll begin to walk in the direction of the porch. Stumble in the direction of the porch, and your wife will give you a thumbs up.
I swear that man drinks more grain than we harvest.
You're funny. You'll do well as a politician.
We'll see about that.
Well, you go and get on your city clothes. That involves just wearing normal clothes, because normally you wear, a basic tunic that's been stained by years spent on a farm. You also get on, you're not sure, like, are you going to wear your military uniform? I mean, you are going to the city, you're a politician. Or are you just going to get your nicer set of clothes on?
Yeah, might as well if we're going to the city.
Okay. You get on your military uniform, you pull up your boots, you put on your single medal that you earned by vote of the public tribe after the Athnaween conflict of a decade past. And
are people supposed to have more medals?
They're very rare, because the tribe has to vote to award them. So none were awarded for the Apar Gladel War. He has probably one of the last batches of medals issued. And so, by the time Midian exits, he's looking like a proper individual. And he can head down the steps and join you.
Great.
So.
Well. Let's get off then.
Indeed.
You walk back to Zuri. It's a nice little hour walk. You go a couple miles, and when you head through into the city proper, you begin to head towards the direction of Tridion's home. You never figured out, like, what Tridion did before he went to war, or why he became a mercenary, or anything like that, but he seems to have made a fair amount of money, because he lives in the Guildsman district of the city, which is one of the nicer areas. This is where the homes of wealthy guild masters, this is where Midor lives, this is where Meror likely lives. Basically half the people currently in government live here. And you even pass by the Black Cockerel, the thing which sparked that whole scandal. It's a really nice bar. They spent 1.2 million renovating it. It's really nice. And you head towards a plaster and wood apartment building. It's about 4 stories tall. These things are death traps when a fire breaks out, but other than that, they're great. You head to the central stairwell, head up 3 stairs. You've been to Tridion's home once before, because he basically had hired a bunch of local people to make him like little, what do you call those? Wards against like curses and little like folk magic essentially, and he wanted your opinion on if they were doing anything. And as far as you could tell, without having any magical ability, these were nothing. Like these were just letters with like little fancy swirls around them. So you head up to the 3rd floor, and inside you can hear the sound of something like a stove, like a wood stove burning, and the sound of something bubbling.
All right, I'll so am I outside? Do I like knock?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
Or you could just open up the
knock,
door if you
knock,
wanted to.
No, knock.
The door opens. Tridion is there, and he's like biting his lips. He's trying to like keep himself composed, and he'll give a nod to you and then look at Midian.
Tridion, nice to see you.
Hi.
Hi.
Who's he?
This is my friend.
Nice to meet you. I'm Midian. Midian extends his hand.
Tridion looks at it. He continues to stare at your hand.
Midian's gonna withdraw it.
He continues to look at your hand. I was just preparing dinner. It's a stew. I got a rabbit, so it should be good. And Tridion's still staring at your hand.
What do you see on his hand?
It looks burned.
Oh. Did that hand ever burn? I say to Midian.
I mean, sure. I'm sure it has once or twice.
But small ones, never something in battle or
Right.
something big.
Tridion just blinks and looks away, and then fully opens up the door, and you can see a very neat, well-kept apartment inside. Like where Midian lives, like where 99% of the people of Zuri live. It's a 1-room apartment. It has a small little stove.
Is it nicer
area.
than mine?
Yeah, it would be.
Dang.
The walls are like stuccoed plaster. There's a mural on one of the walls that was probably painted by like the landlord rather than him, or like when the apartment was originally commissioned, because it depicts, the bounty of Zuri, like harvest and a large central hill with people debating atop it. Very classical Zurian imagery. There's a stove, a long maple table, and then a little cot over in the corner, as well as propped up on a mannequin, a full suit of like scale mail armor with a spear, a metal spear, a shield, several javelins. Like he has his full military kit, like on a mannequin in the middle of his room, ready for if he ever needs it. And he'll gesture at the maple table and say, well, it's been simmering for hours, so if you'd like some stew.
Oh, you sure? I don't mean to impose.
Oh, it's all right. I made extra.
Oh, well, in that case, sure. I'd love a bowl.
And as he goes over to, fill some wooden bowls with some stew, Midian, what's your impression?
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to look at around at the room? Anything you want to get details from on Tridion? What are you feeling, thinking?
Yeah, I did not brief you on the way in about what's wrong with this guy. I just said he's haunted by ghosts and kind of didn't tell you more.
Based on the recap I've got so far, is there okay, he's saying weird stuff about my hand, and you said there were charms hanging up in this place?
Yeah, so the interior of this apartment has what Akmanax has determined to be worthless charms, but it's going to be things like, dream catcher looking things. It's like symbols on the walls that are painted there and then circled with like little squiggly lines, and just every form of like local charm and protection and folk magic that you could ever get your hands on. But they're not like disorderly scribbled. They're like purposely put at certain points, like above the lintel of the door frame or near the window. Like there's a lot of intentionality that goes into protecting this apartment from something he believes that exists.
Right. So the place is well kept, but it's not just like a sterile place. Like it's still got yeah. Okay.
Since you're looking around, you do also notice that the wall next to the cot has a bunch of scratch marks in the into the stucco that forms the walls of this room.
When you say scratch, does it look like a tool scratch or someone like hand fingernail?
It definitely looks like fingernails. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna look over to see it. What do his hands look like?
His fingernails are all torn up, and like basically where like the nail meets skin is a little bit bloody on basically every single finger.
Yeah. Guess you don't need to buy quills if you got 10 of them attached to your hands.
So true.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm not sure about even taking a bite of this food.
Okay.
Yo, sorry. Stop
Yeah.
working.
Oh, is it? Oh, you're back.
Am I back? Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You're back.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
back maxing.
after you finish looking around a little bit, Midian, this man, Tridion, will walk over. He'll put 3 bowls down, wooden bowls. Each of you gets a wooden spoon. Inside is a nice rabbit stew. It has unique smells to it, which marks it as like a Western Dellian dish. It smells spicy. Like a little bit of saffron in there, which is a very nice ingredient. A little bit of cayenne, just a nice spicy Western stew.
Okay.
Nice.
And,
I'm
he'll
gonna
he'll start digging in
eat it
immediately. Yeah.
quickly because it
Okay.
looks yummy.
Yeah, so will Tridion. He focuses more on eating than looking at you guys, and you actually see like a slight smile spread across his face. When he's able to focus on one activity completely, it seems to get him significantly less stressed.
Nice. We need to get this guy more rabbit stew.
Yeah, maybe this guy just needs to be a cook. This
Yeah,
is
maybe
just like,
he just needs stew.
this is just like the plot to The Bear, but just more
So
steps.
true.
Dude, yeah, I got demons, but I also got rabbit stew.
Yeah.
And as Tridion
Easy
finishes
fix.
up, he'll lean back in his chair and to do one of those like satisfied, like holding his stomach type poses. But as he looks at the ceiling, he kind of like jolts a little bit, and then he like stares directly forward, looking at you, Midian. Like he was looking at the ceiling, then his eyes immediately shot down. He says, oh, "Well, I'm glad you're both here. I think tonight's going to be a rough one."
How so?
Well, if I can see them while I'm awake, and before evening is really fully fallen, that means tonight is probably going to be very bad.
Oh, talk to me about what you see.
Well, on the ceiling, I see a man pinned there with spears. I can even feel something touching my head, but since neither of you are reacting, I don't think it's real.
Take a quick look around. It's not.
Yeah.
Whose spears are they?
Mine and my brother's.
Your brother. Does your brother live here with you?
No, my brother's in arms. I don't have any siblings.
Bye. So where'd you fight?
All over the place. We were a mercenary company. We fought in the colonies, in the Apar-Gladel War on the Tibrashan Plains. We fought for the Belton Tyrant against the Athnaween. Fought for the Priest King of Godaluka against bandits in the hills to the southeast of the city.
So you've seen a lot of combat in your time.
About 2 decades worth.
I guess I'm gonna glance over Akmanax, but not really say anything else.
Well,
Yeah.
I suppose at this point there's nothing left to do other than to try to go to sleep. He'll look over at Akbanax, and his eyes keep wanting to dart upwards, but he keeps his gaze focused on you. Is there any questions you have for me? I know you're working on your theories of magic.
Yes, this might be a bit of a vague or open-ended question, but other than the senses that you're getting, the sensory information, the voices, the touching, the seeing, those things, do you have anything that you feel spiritually different? Do you feel weak or ill or anything in the body that is not only caused by nerves from what your senses present you?
Well, I'm always tired these days, but I think that has more to do with
Not
the
sleeping,
sleep.
sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I guess I don't know quite what you mean. I mean, I feel emotions related to it, but I'm not sure how much of it is actually real.
Understood. It would
I have
also
no
help.
injuries.
No injuries. Okay, good. If you wouldn't mind, it would be helpful if you were how do I say, more forthcoming with the things that you're seeing and hearing. You keep trying to hide it from us, but we're here to help. So the more that you tell us, the more that we'll be able to know about what we're looking for here.
All right. Well, currently, I can hear the voice of a man I knew, and he's saying that I should go grab my spear and kill him. And he gestures towards Midian with his head.
Oh, okay. And you say you knew him. Is he a man that you killed, or a man who you fought with, or
He died during a skirmish in Luca.
died in a skirmish and go to? Sure, but was he on your side?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Could have you tried speaking back to them? Have you asked why or how he's doing?
I've done it before, mostly at night when I'm alone, and they get meaner.
They get meaner, but do they answer your questions?
Sometimes.
Oh, well, that's a lead. Would you mind speaking to them for us?
He'll just close
Could I
his
give you
eyes
questions
and
to
say,
ask them?
Yes. He just said that I should poison the stew.
Okay, good. Ask why he wants you to do that.
Why? The three of you all sit in the quiet apartment for a couple of seconds. He said because you're both bad men and you don't want to help me.
Lying ghost. Could you ask if he's a ghost?
Are you a ghost? He said he's haunting me because I failed to protect him.
Did you?
Yes.
Interesting. All right. Ask how he has the ability to haunt you. Most people don't have that.
How can you haunt me? His face kind of contorts. He closes his eyes. He says, because I'm a very bad man.
Oh, that's not right. There's more to it than that. Worse men than you haven't been haunted by ghosts like this.
Alex, while this is going on, there is something that Midian kind of wants to do on the side while he's distracted.
Yeah.
You'd mentioned like a whole like suit of armor, spear, everything set
Yep.
up on that mannequin, just like in the room.
Yep.
What can you say about like its condition at all? Like, does it look
Incredible
like
condition.
it's
This involves daily
Okay.
polishing. It's gleaming when you look at it.
including like, and there's a spear as part of that kit as well, right?
Yes, there is a spear, a shield, 3 javelins, a dagger, a full suit of scale mail, and a helmet. All of which are, like, they're distinctive enough that you can tell this is Dellian armor from likely, 2 or 3 decades ago. And it's been used a lot because there's lots of dinks and scrapes on it, but it is also incredibly well maintained. So well maintained that, like, the horse plume helmet, it's been brushed, clearly. Like, this plume is kept in excellent condition.
Okay. Interesting. And then I guess, sorry to keep sidetracking, but I am
No, it's
curious a
fine.
little bit about the cookware. Like, for some reason, my instincts are like, oh, this guy just has like severe lead poisoning and a lot of guilt.
Yeah, it's a wooden bowl with wooden spoons.
What about his cookware, though?
The pots? I mean, it's a
Yeah.
mixture of iron, lead, and copper, which are going to be basically everyone's eating vessels.
Okay. Okay, cool. That's all the questions I had.
Alrighty.
Guys, it's ghosts.
I
Stop
know
thinking.
why he's
No,
crazy.
guys, he doesn't have schizophrenia. He has ghosts.
Guys, it's ghosts.
It's ghosts.
You guys are so fucking stupid. Of course he has ghosts.
The ghost keeps telling me to drink all this mercury.
Yeah, well, because he says he has voices of people he used to know, but also voices of people he hasn't met. And you can't just invent voices like that. It has to be a ghost.
True. Tridion will open up his eyes and say, well, yeah, I don't know, but I suppose there is one thing I was thinking about at work today.
All right.
It's not really magic related, but sometimes when it gets really bad, I begin to feel like nothing is real. Like I'm a person trapped in a dream, and you're all people in that dream, and that I'm going to wake up and realize that everything in this world is fake, and that there was some secondary reality that I've been kept from, and that I can escape this world and go to that one.
Wow.
How do you know that's not the case?
That's the problem. I don't.
Fascinating. What imagination you have.
It's only when it gets really bad, though.
Huh. Well,
Right.
like when the voices are the loudest, or what do you mean it gets
It's
really
when
bad?
I lose the ability to distinguish between what is real and what isn't.
Right, and that happens when...
I'm alone, and it's the visions come frequently. When I'm with other
Okay, and
people,
they're
it's
at their
easy to...
loudest.
Yes, when I'm with you two, I can gauge what's real. I can tell that...
Huh.
No, like, right now I can hear distant screaming, but since you two aren't reacting, that must be fake, and it's a good metric to know.
Alex, does it make sense for my character to have my player knowledge of Realm of Souls?
Oh yeah, Realm of Souls,
Okay.
like that idea of like an immaterial secondary world filled with magic layering our own is present in every culture across Valoros.
Okay. Okay. That is fascinating. How familiar are you with the idea of the Realm of Souls?
It's where you go when you die, something like that.
Yes, that's true. There's more to it than that though. You see, there's it's a copy of our world imposed on top of ours where magic exists. I've written much about it in my books. Um, you see, it sounds as if you could be part way in the realm of souls. Your body is, or maybe your soul is not entirely contained in ours. And because of that, you are able to be interacted with by ghosts and demons and such that are kept in the realm of souls.
Starts to nod. And that's why I see the dead, and that's why it feels like this place isn't fully real.
Yes, exactly. So, there are two things we need to do. Test this hypothesis, and then if it turns out to be true, find a way to reattach your spirit to your body and contain it in the material plane.
So what do we do?
Well, first we'd want to test it. I think that it would be interesting to see if you can interact with anything else in the realm of souls. Have you gone to any churches? Or seen priests?
I went to one. A cleric was there with the glowing eyes.
Oh.
I asked him
Of which god?
one of the Hellion ones. Green Eyes.
Fine.
The woman.
Right.
I am. That's her name.
Sure, yeah.
And I asked him to remove a curse from me, and that did nothing.
Yes, it seems that this might not be a curse in the literal sense of it, but something else accursed, if you understand.
No.
Well, don't worry about it. Um, Fascinating. What would we do about that? Let's see. Okay, so Alex, the thing I want here, and I don't think I
Yeah.
have this, but what I want here is to talk to like a Vandai type figure.
Yeah, someone who actually
Right,
can
somebody
literally
who's
peer
like-
into the realm of souls.
Yeah, or somebody that's at least like, even like an Abdul type, like just somebody cracked out, like some archmage somewhere. I don't think I
Well,
really know anybody like that.
Yeah, there is one famous archmage in the whole of the Dellian League. Infamous
Okay.
more so than famous, because he was the former archmage of Apar, but then when that city fell, he teleported out, left the whole royal family to die, and fled to Belza. So he's probably the most famous archmage in the whole league, but he is also a famous recluse because like no one likes him. The only people that are currently like him are the military junta of Belza, because he occasionally fireballs protesters.
Oh, great. Sorry, is Belza who we're going to war with, or
No, that's Ekialden. Belza was a former ally that their government fell and they became a military dictatorship, and now they're not really your friends anymore.
Okay, but we're not like they weren't even on the roster for people we could invade,
No,
right?
historically you guys are very close allies. You
Okay,
go
they're
to
just
Luca
kind
and
of
Belza.
they fell off, and so we're not all that close.
Yeah, because they used to be a democracy, then a tyrant, and now a full-on dictatorship. So from a Zurian perspective, they're like barbarians.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna send a letter to that archmage.
Okay.
Because I have no problem talking to the guy.
Yeah.
And then I will probably try and spend some time at a library reading about other. I'll probably look up curse texts, looking for something else that is misdiagnosed as a curse and could be somewhere on the Souls issue. I think it would probably be under curses.
Yeah. This is a bit of a more longer form research project, so I think we'll loop back to this in a little bit, and we will, as you guys, you finish up that evening, since you don't have much else to get from Tridion, you thank him for the meal. He thanks you very much for your company and says that, since he learned that having literally just one other person there helps him, he'll probably go hire like a prostitute or something just to be in his apartment with him so that he can have like a second person to like distinguish what is real. Like nothing sexual, just in his house. So he can be like, hey, do you hear that?
I will offer to be with him more often too. That's like, he doesn't have to go hire prostitutes all the time. I can just be his friend. That's like a service that I'm
Maybe
happy
he's
to
definitely not offering. He mentioned like a couple times that he sometimes gives into the voices at night.
True. The thing is I am chatted and he can protect myself.
That is true. Yeah, he'll consider it. He seems a bit off-put about the offer, but he'll consider it.
Okay.
But yeah. You guys go your separate ways. Midian, that was the weirdest fucking. That guy's insane.
Yeah,
that guy's
objectively.
fully out of his goddamn gourd. Alrighty, so
You guys are not allies.
Odnos. It is a beautiful day. You sit on the back porch of your estate with Onenosa, Penosa, Heraknosa, and Eluznos. Onenosa and Heraknosa, your wife and aunt, respectively, are working on making lacy cozies to prevent drinks from marring your wooden tabletop. It's like a very intricate type sewing operation. Your niece and nephew, no, niece, I was right. Niece and son are talking about a party that's being held by one of the other clans that they're going to attend the following evening. Your breath is sweet and sticky from honey mead that you've been sipping on throughout the whole day. There's only one problem. You're not enjoying the moment in the slightest. You feel dread. It's been 2 days since you won the Deem election, and you've started reaching out feelers. The Paralia election is going to be a different beast entirely. You'll need to turn Midian into a true candidate, and today you need to put together a deal with Piave. There's a lot of work to be done. You don't have the time to, sit back and enjoy the luxurious rural life anymore. So, rather than, guide you down a particular path, there's a long list of shit you need to get done. So where would you like to start?
Yeah. So first of all, for this list of people I have,
In Piave?
would I have to go to Piave or letters, or is there a middleman or
So
what?
you could letters. It takes 2 days for a letter to get there, 2 days to get back. Assuming that they respond the same day every single time, that's about 30 letters that you could get between you and Piave in the next 2 months, which is how long you have until that election. An additional small note is that your wife also went with you to Piave, so she could be a good resource if you have any questions, because it was seen as unbecoming for a married man to go to Piave as a bachelor, so your wife was sent with you. But yeah, so you could exchange about 30 letters with Piave, or you could just go there in person if you wanted to.
Okay. What's an Archon of Fleet for this Tritnos guy?
Yeah, so I'm going to explain this for Ben and Nick so they don't get confused. Piave is a republic, not a democracy, meaning that they elect archons, and then those archons have almost complete carte blanche to do whatever they want within the field of what they were elected to do, as opposed to the,
Lifetime
votes.
terms or what?
A year. For most positions. And they have 7 different archons. I'm not going to go through all of them. The 3 most important for our purposes here is eponymous archon, which is like chief government official, like prime minister is the best, comparison. Okay. Then they have an archon of war, which deals with the army, and then an archon of fleet, which deals with the navy.
Okay.
So that answers your question, Jackson.
And so Echialden is landlocked, so how would an Archon of Fleet help us?
The answer is from a military angle, not at all, but politically, Tritnos, the Archon of Fleet, is actually incredibly important.
Okay.
Because he basically so the 3 people I put on this list, because more people other than these 3, but each of these 3 represents, 1, a political faction of Piave, and secondly, you've met them personally. So Arizor represents the reformist faction, Heraclitus represents the conservative faction, and Tritnos represents conservative, but more business conservative, less so I want to recreate a dictatorship type conservative.
Yeah. So
okay, so fiscal conservative.
Yeah, because like Heraclitus wants
Social-
to kill the Republic of Piave and make it into a
Social,
military
not
dictatorship.
killing the Republic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So from what I know, would any like one of these guys, if I were to get them on board, be able to pull enough strings to secure aid?
Any one of them? No. You need probably consent from at least Heraclitus and Arizor to do that, because technically, this is really weird. Technically, Piave and Echialner are not at war. None of this is like a declared conflict, because if it was, they'd have to go to the Dellian Assembly and like have a whole thing to like get peace negotiations, and it's a whole complicated thing. So technically, they're not even at war. So what you'd need is an official war declaration, which is the eponymous Archon, and then you need the military to be on board, which is the Archon of War. So you're gonna have to convince like basically both parties in Piave that no, this is a good idea. We should do
The
this.
two parties who hate each other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Though to be fair, their reasons for hating each other are mostly domestic, not foreign. So there's that.
So
it's slightly foreign,
What's this Tritnos loser doing here?
Well, he's
Why did I
there
got-
because he's a good middle option. Like, if you can, like, basically, it's just that which strata of society do you want to appeal to? Because Heraclitus is basically just you, but from Piave. He's like a country landowner with like a checkered past, and he's served in a bunch of different offices. He's not particularly skilled at warfare, and his main thing is that he wants to kill the Republic of Piave. But if you manage to get both Tritnos and Arizor on board, you may be able to just like convince Heraclitus that, oh yeah, this is a good idea. Yeah, it's mostly just, and again, they are elected. Like, despite Heraclitus not wanting that, he is an elected person at the end of the day. So if you can manage to get the people of Piave on board with a war, then none of their opinions matter, because they all want to get reelected.
Okay. It seems like going to Piave, like how long would a trip be there? And
2
how
days,
much would that
and then
fuck
you can
us
spend
over?
as long as you wanted to be. You guys have 2 months before the Paralia election. I'm not going to be super, like, tracking each day or anything like that.
Okay. Seems like I should probably go there in person then.
Do you want to bring anyone else with you? Because I will remind, like, so just to give you a list of things you may want to do, I'll even put these on the chat so that we don't forget.
Yeah.
One, you're going to want to bribe/speak to the relevant Plains faction families. You're going to want to figure out other Stratigoy candidates. You're going to want to write a speech for Midian. Make Midian good at debate. You're going to want to figure out a strict policy that makes you different to other candidates. Different to other candidates. You'll probably want to acquire additional funding and hold a campaign event, and then probably like talk to advisors.
Don't we already have our money up like a lot? Isn't it like 4
It's
or
at
some
4
shit?
out of 10.
Oh, out of
Yeah.
10. Okay, I thought it was out of like 6.
No.
Getting aid from Piave would supposedly help us fund the campaign. 'cause
Well,
we'd-
it depends what deal you negotiate. If you negotiate campaign funding, then that's one thing, but that's not what your uncle asked you to do. He asked money
Yeah.
personally for his family.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so that's like a short list of things. There's other things, but that's like the short list of what you want to do. So,
Oh, and
I'm just-
and fix this guy's ghosts.
oh yeah, let me add that to the list. Fix Tritneosis.
Might have
That
missed
one
that
might
earlier.
get put on the back burner a little bit. Not gonna
No,
lie.
Yeah.
it's important. It's important. He's got ghosts.
I missed that earlier. What is finding his ghost relevance to us?
Nothing. It's
He's
just
a good guy.
It's just Octanax's like job.
well, yeah. Also, I forget. Is this guy rich? I got a couple of rich
he's
friends.
kind of richish, but not like Oddnose rich.
Okay.
Can't we just
He's
like,
like
it was,
individually
like,
wealthy.
Oh, it was Priamnos who's rich.
Yeah, your student. Yeah, he's pretty rich.
Yeah, that guy's rich.
you think we just
Not
like,
that
hold
I'm
this
gonna
guy
ask
up in
my
a
students from-
monastery?
I mean, that is like genuinely a solution to just like say you're insane, go to a fucking monastery.
Well, he likes being with people, you know.
That is true. Living alone is probably the worst thing for him. But so
I
yeah,
wouldn't like get him a job at an orphanage, but I mean,
That's an awful idea.
the reason I brought up this list, Jackson, was just that
Yeah.
if you do want to go to Piave, is there any of these that you can tackle at the same time, basically?
Yeah, it would keep our funding from my family currently. I could have Akbanax write a speech while I'm gone.
Okay.
Is Piave like war torn at all with like
No.
taking Midian there? Okay.
Piave is not war torn in the slightest. The pig war is literally just like border skirmishes. It's not a real war.
Mm,
It's like cattle being stolen and like 2 guys dying here and then a village being like attacked here. It's just,
It's just like raiding parties.
yeah, but
basically.
they started it.
Who is they?
Echialden.
Oh, okay, all right.
I'm going to go can I put my like sun on? Hmm.
The answer is yes. You can assign him to do tasks. He's pretty
Yeah.
competent.
I'm trying to decide if he should figure out the other Stratagoy candidates or make a policy, but I think he should figure out the other Stratagoy.
I would recommend the Stratagoy thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty.
So yeah.
Hey kid, I'm trying to get office. You got any good
Yeah,
policy
figure out my
ideas?
whole
I
campaign
need something
idea
that
for
sets
me.
me apart from the other candidates.
He's a smart kid. Come on.
He is smart for sure. I
You
just don't
want
know.
to develop my whole ideology?
Yeah, you want to make me Stratagoy?
Yeah, so I'll have him figure out who's who. And before I leave for Piave, I want to swing by to Midian.
Okay. Yeah, you ride over to his little farm. It's bright and early in the morning. The previous day, Midian, that's when you went to the city. So today, when you wake up in the morning, you have hidden the booze. So your brother is painfully sober as he assists you in pulling out weeds and tending to the farm. It's summer now, so there's only like 3 or 4 hours of work a day, really, to just prevent shit from rotting in the field, basically.
Right.
So you're just sitting on the front porch, taking a brief break as you see a horse ride up to your house. And since there's basically only I guess at this point, 3 people will visit you, and only one of them has a horse. So you can tell it's Oddnose from a ways away.
Awesome.
So
I
right up
pull
the
up.
steps. Yeah, you pull
Yeah.
up.
Pull up the whip. Midian,
Hi.
how are you
How'd
today?
Good. Good. The crop is going well so far, but it's pretty early to tell.
Yes, I see you're still doing that.
Yes.
Yes,
Unless you're gonna stop charging rent.
I am.
Oh. Um, I didn't expect to get this
I
far.
had suggested it, but you've done very well, and you've been competent, and so you no longer have to pay rent ever.
Alex, is Midion's family like? Did any of them hear this?
No, you're on the front porch. The rest of them are out in the field.
Okay. Midion's gonna call out to his family real quick while they're working.
Yeah, your wife will look over her shoulder and she'll walk over and wave at the kids to stay in the field. Your brother is like laying on the grass, which he definitely shouldn't be doing. So your aunt, I think it's your
Yeah,
your
it's
mom.
fine.
Yeah, your mom
Midion's gonna
kicks
go
him in
grab
the side.
his. Yep, Midion's gonna grab his drink from the house.
Yeah, and by the time you get back out onto the porch, your wife is there, and she'll give you a wave, Oddnose, and then say, "Yes, Midian."
The masters agreed to stop charging us rent. We're completely off the hook.
For this year?
Oh no! So it sounded like you said at all.
At all.
Even if
Midian's.
he loses the election for Stratagoy,
Yes, even if he loses.
she'll
Oh, drop out right now.
she'll bound forward and give you a hug, Midian, and say, "This is incredible. We didn't even have to win."
Well, I should still try.
Oh, of
before-
course. It'd be lovely to be Stratagoy, but even then, oh man, wow. I'll go tell the
I'm
kids.
gonna hand her the. I'm gonna hand her the bottle.
Yeah, she'll hop over towards the field, skipping as she goes.
Thank you, Adnos. I mean, you've made my year, my decade.
Yes, of course. You've done a good job. I just ask as a friend and ally that you keep doing good.
Of course.
I'm going to Piave for some time. Can't say how long, probably a week about, but in the meantime, you should ask Akbanax to teach you to debate. Perhaps write a speech.
Still not sure how I won that election last time.
Well, there were many greased palms.
Indeed.
Anyways, you should what did happen with your unit?
With my unit?
Yes, that they brought up towards the end there before the moderator.
Kind of a. I wasn't sure how to phrase it in the moment because was that from Ben?
Yeah, because I don't know what he's about to say.
Because in a sense it was a tactical failure. We were fighting. Well, we were ambushed by an Athenian party, and we were just completely surprised, completely overwhelmed. So in that sense, is a complete tactical disaster. But where I had gained some status is in what followed, as you know. Um, uh, uh, anyone the Athenians captured would usually execute in a very public and very horrific way, as I'm sure you know.
Yes, they've
Um,
been known to do such things.
yes. So I find myself in that predicament, and as they're taking me to the stage, I realize that my captor did not tie my bonds very well. I mean, of course, I did have to break my non-fighting hand to get it out of my bonds, and I took one of my captor's weapons, and I was able to get myself and a couple others out. I guess for that, people made a big fuss once we made it back alive, but I can't exactly write it off as a success.
Hmm. If it comes up again, I would focus on the saving others part. I would really focus on that these types of things happen in war. That's the nature of such conflicts, and that's why you would be good strategoys, because you understand this. I would avoid blaming myself publicly, but I wouldn't deny blame either. That would be
Indeed.
uncommanderly. But I'm sure Akbanax has more to say about these things.
I'll have to run it by him.
Yes. Anyways, I just wanted to make sure you knew this, as I'd heard you've been continuing to farm, so I wanted to make sure you knew what I was knew the
Yes,
good
absolutely. I mean, shoot, we might. I don't even know if we're gonna know how to stop farming. We might still have to see this harvest through. But
Yeah, you
there's
do
a
look
burden
out
off our
towards the
shoulders.
field where you see your wife is like jumping and the kids are now jumping and even they're all like excitedly celebrating in the middle of the field.
Yes, I don't know that they would be too happy about that, but I suppose
No.
you're the man of the house.
We will see.
Yeah. You should take some time to get to know the people in the Paralia while I'm gone as well. Anyways,
Very well.
I'll be off.
Alrighty.
All right.
Well, so now we got an A and B plot. I think we'll start with Jackson just because I want to give him the chance to get the full breadth of what's going on in Piave, and then we can cut to you guys while he thinks about how he's going to approach it. So,
I swear, if you guys do ghosts while I'm gone, I'm gonna lose it.
Why? What's wrong with you
because you're limited on time.
We have
Most
only so much
adventures.
IRL time. And you
Yeah, and we have
wasted an hour
ghosts to solve.
That is true. There are ghosts to solve.
You guys are so cringe. The election is easy. Ghosts are hard.
I'm gonna haunt you in real life.
Oddnose, for most people, traveling between two cities of the Dellian League is like an event. First of all, you need to get travel passes. Then you need to get, what is it called, the Dellian visa. It's not as complicated as it sounds. It's just a piece of paper that says, yes, I can enter your city. It's like a whole thing. For you, it's literally, you go to Zuri, you go meet with the Archon of the city after paying for a meeting, and then you say, hey, give me this, and he gives it to you. It costs money, but it's not like time. It costs like 2 hours. So the same day, you make your way to Piave. It's 2 days across open road. When you pass through the territory that is disputed between Echialden and Piave, it takes you a moment to realize that a war's going on, because, like, it's fine. Like, the farms aren't burned down. Like, your limited conception of war comes from the veterans of the Apar Gladel War, and that shit was apocalyptic. Like, the second biggest city in all of Apar was burned to the ground completely, called Hearthfast. This is like nothing. Like, there's a couple paddocks with like broken fences and no livestock in them, but that's about it. So when you get to Piave, you're a bit underwhelmed, I guess. You're expecting a bit more. In the city
Clearly,
of
my eyes are wrong because I couldn't be the bad guy here.
In the city of Piave, you can find that they are celebrating their Midsummer Festival. They do it way earlier than Zuri does. You guys don't do it for 2 more months, but they have, people going around in traditional costumes. They do a lot of like fae dress here in Piave, so a lot of people dressed up like satyrs and fairies and old men hitting young women with sticks. It's a strange local traditions, but, to each their own.
Boys will be boys.
Satyrs will be satyrs. And where do you want to start in the city? Basically, you're going to be spending, a whole week here, so I'm happy to answer any questions you have that you think you could acquire.
Good one, Nick. Book a hotel room for starters, and then probably just get straight to business. Meet with one of these people. Probably start with Arisor, because he's a Zuri simp, and I'm Zuri.
He is indeed a Zuri simp. Okay. You go to meet with Arisor, head of the Reformer faction. I don't want to like rehash what's on your page, so you read the whole description of him, right?
I did, but I
Okay.
can't remember how we know each other.
You just met him in person during a mixer.
Right.
Nothing too crazy. Just keep in mind he's a bit of a Robespierre type figure for when you're meeting him. Or at least he used to be.
I'll wear my casual clothes.
Alrighty. You request a meeting with the eponymous Archon. Again, normally a whole thing, but 1, you're rich, and 2, you used to be a former diplomat, so you're able to meet with him after spending about a day and a half in the city. Also, did you bring your wife?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Then you will be invited to his estate, which he didn't have an estate when you were here a year ago, so you're not sure what happened there. And it's right along one of the canals, so it's a very nicely positioned estate. You arrive there at about 4 o'clock in the evening. The guards at the gate let you and your wife through. As you step into the main foyer, your wife is directed off to go meet with the other women of the household, and you are led up the steps to an office. Inside, when the doors open, you see Arisor. He's in his late 30s. He always wears his toga with a single bloody handprint on the chest. It is a macabre reference to how he originally became an Archon of the city, and yet he's worn it for almost over a decade at this point. It always made you a bit uncomfortable seeing him in the past, and this is no different. And he is currently standing behind his desk. There's 2 other people in the room, both of which have swords at their sides, so they seem more like bodyguards than like petitioners or something like that. And as you enter, he'll turn around and say, Odnos of, what's that deme of yours? Pandenisis, something like that?
Pandenice.
Pandenice, there we go.
Well, it's good to see you again, Arisor.
It's been a couple years. How's your family doing?
They're all doing well. Well, yes.
That's good.
My son's grown to be quite the man.
Yes, I remember when you were here, you discussed him serving as a commander in the Apar-Gladel War. I assume he hasn't gotten any more chance to prove his valor?
Not just yet.
And you had that other son, the one who stayed in Zuri. How's he doing?
Yes, Tritnos, he's doing well. He's been learning from a philosopher.
I see. Well, how have you been enjoying the festivities? Tomorrow we're actually going to be burning some effigies.
Oh, yes, of who?
Androchinus, the great tyrant.
Well, I like it. Good to be reminded.
Some of the locals tried to include Admetus, the former Statrarch, ruler of Echialden, but, well, it seems a bit too inflammatory. We're already on the brink of war, wouldn't want to push us over the edge.
Yes, how are relations with Echialden?
Oh, miserable as always. Haven't really changed much since you were here. There was another skirmish. This time it was actual citizen militias clashing. I think 15 dead. Well.
Tragic.
Yes. It's a very heavy distraction of the people these days. There are more public organizations and talks of going to war with Echialden than there is to solve the material conditions of the people in the streets of Piave.
You're not in favor of war with Echialden, then?
I suppose I'm not opposed to it, but this war is being used by the country aristocrats and the wealthy landowners to keep the poor distracted and sated on bloodshed. rather than deal with their material conditions.
Yes, I see.
Wouldn't want to do that.
Terrible.
Tisk, tisk.
Unfortunate. And I believe Heraclitus is the icon of war.
Yes.
I'd imagine he's pushing for such things.
Yes, unfortunately, he is. I actually thought he was going to lose. He has no military experience. He'd been Archon of Finance, Archon of Fleet, half a dozen other things. Embezzled the funds while he was the Archon of Finance. I always thought that the people's voice after the Canal Revolution would sing above the rooftops and carry our city to a new age. Take down our oligarchs make a shining city on a hill like you Geminis did. But we've yet to kill our tyrants.
Yes, I've been more involved in Zurian time than a while, and I've had to deal with the Plains faction and idiot practice. I'm one of them, of course, but even for me, it's excruciating after a while.
Yes. During last year's elections, about 7 months ago now, there was a debate in which I was arguing with the conservative candidate for Eponymous Archon, and his arguments were that I had not yet fully fulfilled my vision of saving the people of Piave, that my reforms had only gone so far, that I had no power, that I was achieving very little. And then, a moment later, he talked about how the Republic of Piave should be killed and that we should have an oligarchy again. It's hard to imagine that people think there are actually two sides to any of these conflicts. People are so stupid they don't see that they're signing their own death warrants if they allow Heraclitus and his ilk to gain power again.
Yes. Does it not concern you that the Echialdan, their tyrants, have been in increasing control? No?
Echialdan are an undemocratic and savage people. It doesn't shock me that they'd fall back into monarchy.
Yeah.
The only thing that keeps us in a proper place is by actually enforcing our corruption laws. This nice estate you're in used to be owned by a member of Heraclitus's conservative faction, but when he was caught embezzling, his property was seized for the state. I think that's what really separates us from Echialdan. We actually punish people who break our laws.
Yeah.
Well,
think...
since you're not here on an official Zurian diplomatic appointment, is this just a vacation, or?
I'm on semi-personal business.
Well, and he sits down and, snaps at one of his bodyguards who brings over an incredibly expensive bottle of rye wine, a sort of, not unique to Piave. Piave and Echialdan both produce it, but it's kind of like a regional drink. And he'll have it begin to get poured out into 2 glasses. And you start to realize as you're sitting down and that is being poured out, you have a moment to look and absorb the room. This is a really nice house. That is a really nice wine. This guy, when you knew him a couple years ago, he was a little bit different. And the firebrand that you heard about, from 1267, was a revolutionary who was literally lynching landlords in the street. This guy is not, they're not the same person. He has the same rhetoric, but he's getting a little bit chunky. He's a little bit of fat in his cheeks. He's wearing his toga's a bit too tight for him now. Each passing year, Arizor becomes less and less of what he once was in that summer of violence of 1267. But he sips on the rye wine and says, "So, personal business."
Well, half personal. I'm certainly not in any official capacity for Zuri. I'm here... Well, I mentioned that I've been involved in politics. Increasingly recently.
Yes?
My family, we have... Well, mostly me, but I'm backing. Taken to running a candidate for Stradigo.
Oh. Your politicians are just like advisors, correct? Ultimately, the assembly makes the decisions?
Yes, but the position of Stradigo wields influence in being able to call for votes and just general soft power and the like.
Yeah, sure.
But while I was here, I took a liking to Piave and I've been concerned about the lack of democracy in Echialden.
Well, we both agree there, but it's hard to imagine that city actually adopting democratic principles.
Well, you said you were concerned about war with conservative faction here to strengthen their hold.
Sort of. It's not so much strengthen their hold. I'm the only reformer that still holds any seat in government at the moment. It's more so that I want to make it so that the average man of Piave has a home that he can afford. He has no landlord that owns his property. He works a job that can pay for his expenses and that of his family. A man who can vote in his election and be involved in his deme, much like you all have in Zuri. There are people in your city, like yourself, who take their own deme as a deep cultural tie, but we're just so far from that here. And since our constitution was written, I've been unable to do the reordering of society that is necessary to get us there. And with every distraction, like a war with Echialden, or Malgatha, or the Apargladel War, or Hago, or half a dozen other threats that people obsess with, they get less focused on the core inequalities, which is that Heraclitus and Tritnos are men that are so wealthy they never need to worry about what our city is doing. They can pay for their expenses regardless of famine, or bloodshed, or anything else. But the common man of Piave, when war comes, they will raise the flag of Piave, speak of war, but they'll be unable to pay their bills and feed their families. It's just... it feels a distraction.
What if war were to benefit these goals you speak of?
In what sense?
I've been concerned with Echialden, as I said, and my campaign I've been running, looking to get Zuri involved in helping the people of Echialden and to overthrowing their tyrants. I've been involved, and I've been hoping to spread democratic principles of Zuri there, and I know Piav would certainly benefit from an end to Echialden's meddling, but
Having a truly democratic Echialden would be beneficial. That is for
it would
certain.
inspire your people, and if your people were to serve alongside Zurians, perhaps some of our values might rub off on them. They would hear of our system, our ways.
You propose a joint war, then?
Yes.
What of the
Of course.
Assembly? Would they not intervene? Attempt to prevent us from doing it if we declared a proper conflict?
Eric's, which assembly is he referring to?
The Dellian Assembly, the voting body of the Dellian League.
Oh, I haven't thought about that at all.
Not a concern. Not a concern.
Base.
Forgot that was a thing. UN, what? The guys with blue hats, what?
Well, actually, it's more like the U.S. government. Like, you're all the states, and you're like, yeah, we're all going to go kill Michigan, right? And then they're like, wait, what about the federal government?
I hate the Fed.
Well, ideally, we would be able to get the assembly on board. I imagine that between us and yourselves, that's 2 votes. Dell and Depar, they're always backwards and ready for war.
Well, the Kingdom of
so-
Malgatha likely would not support us defeating Echialden. I'm not sure, when you were here, I'm not sure how much sense you got of it, but the Heraclitus and his faction have made sort of deals with the devil. They're willing to ally with Hago, Malgatha, any undemocratic forces in the League. I wouldn't be shocked if they're already reaching out to the new dictators of Belza, seeing if they can be friends.
Yes, this is exactly why I want to prevent Echialden from backsliding any
I agree.
further.
I would prefer a democratic Echialden to anything else. This is an ideological conflict between those who are interested in the people's wishes, Zuri and Piave, versus the undemocratic forces which are steadily conquering the League. But you'd have to convince the other cities to come on board. Or there is the other option, which is an undeclared conflict, but that gets dangerous. If Echialden goes before the Assembly and asks for it to be resolved, and we'll find ourselves in the exact position that Apar was in, where Apar was insisting, no, it's a real conflict, and then Glodell said that it wasn't, and then we have years of debate in the Assembly. I don't know.
We can win years of debate in the Assembly.
Hmm.
I'm a yapper.
I'm not opposed to it, though. I appreciate you floating this idea to me first.
Yes.
A powerful block of democratic cities. That could probably be the strengthening force the League needs.
Exactly.
I would have a condition, though.
What is it?
For Alden to truly be reformed into a democracy, certain undemocratic characters would have to be removed. Specifically, Admetus, the former Statrarch and current ruler.
I would certainly be amenable to this. Of course, assuming you're helping in such a circumstance, I'm of limited power at the moment, but I hold the similar ideals as you. For now, my main concern in Zuri is to win the election at all, and that's part of what I've come for your help with. My family, they've opened the treasury, but in order for them to continue supporting us in our Paralia election, my great uncle, he wants some form of support, some assurance that we won't be getting into this on our own, that there are elements in Piav that would help us, such as yourself.
Do you want me to write him a letter?
That would be very good, yes.
Alrighty.
And
well,
second
as
of
you
all,
know, I'm also elected, so I won't be able to put it in as plain text as agreeing to go to war, but I could indicate my support for your family.
Yes, and that would be very good. And the other concern is my great uncle is, if our family is going to be putting forward finances, some sort of compensation for our family from elements in PR. May not have to be you, but there's someone willing to rub my family's back.
Uh-huh. Well, I'll have to think about it.
Yes. You don't have to do the second one. First one, appreciate it. As well as advice on dealing with PR. I'd imagine that Tritnos is more reasonable than Heraclitus in his desire for.
Well, of the 600
democratic
Archons, I think Tritnos is your best bet, but Tritnos is a spineless worm. In his campaign speeches last year, he denounced both me and Heraclitus as tyrants. And I know, that sounds spiteful, but just actually think about that. Heraclitus, in an open forum, said that he wished to kill the Republic of Piave and replace it with an oligarchy. I said that I wished to empower the vote of the people. And he said that we're both tyrants. That level of trying to straddle the middle and pull in centrist voters, it's infuriating. There's no equation in which we're equal on both sides of this. It's a scale with an elephant on one side and a single coin on the other.
This guy sounds like Jeb Bush.
Dude.
But
dude is so mad he's losing to Trump.
I suppose he at least doesn't want to destroy Piave. That's the best that can be said for him. And I think last I heard, wishes to strengthen the force of the Dellian League, which it does match my general goals.
Yeah. And do you think I would still have to bring Heraclitus on board if I were to get you two to...
No, well, we can worry about that after you've won your election. I can't imagine that Heraclitus would say no at the opportunity to fight a war. He's a bloodthirsty tyrant, just like all the conservatives.
Yes. I may have to meet with him regardless, but if you're...
I would recommend don't take any strategic advice from him. Despite his calling me a dove of peace, he's not even effective at fighting a war. We've been on and off. He's been the Archon of War for 2 years now, and yet we have not achieved a single battlefield victory against Echialden. Pathetic.
Yes, unfortunate. Anyways, I will leave you to stew on things. As I said, a letter to my great uncle. Greatly appreciate. At least some.
I can write that now. The funding I'll have to think about, but I can get you the letter today. Do you know when you're leaving Piave?
Not yet. I
Alright.
assume.
Well, then come by in a couple days and I'll have my mind made up.
Yes, Yes, and which day was that burning of Androkinus again? I may have
Tomorrow,
to attend.
and
Tomorrow.
I'm sure you won't miss it. You should smell the burning herbs all across the city.
Alrighty, thank you. Alright, and I'll leave, and I'll make sure to attend that thing when it comes up.
Yeah. Tomorrow, you head to the public square of Piave. It's not quite as big as Zuri's. It's all like several smaller squares located along the central canal of Piave. And it is what it sounds like. It is giant effigies of the legendary tyrant Androkinus being burned, and next to it are smaller effigies of tyrants throughout history. You have the Zhezhans of Apar, you have the tyrants of Hago, you have the current king of Apar and Gladel, the king of Malgatha, Hurrigan the Red. Despite what, Arizor told you, they did make a statue of Admetus, the current ruler of Echialden, and they're burning that as well. They're just burning like statues of almost every single tyrant and dictator currently ruling in the Dellian League, with one exception, which is the priest king of Goderluca. Yeah. Even Zuri doesn't fuck with Goderluca. For whatever reason, no one seems to particularly dislike Goderluca, mostly because they just mind their own business and don't do anything outside of their territory. But yeah.
Based.
Yeah, they're generally quite respected, despite being probably the worst city in the entire league in terms of living in there. But who do you want to meet with next? Or do you want to take a moment to think?
I figured I'd meet with Treatnut.
Okay. To meet with Tritnos, you don't even have to make a formal meeting because he's not that busy. The Navy of Piave consists of 2 ships, one of which is ocean-going. So you make your way down to the riverside of Piave because there is no harbor. There's just like river port. You head inside what it looks like a large warehouse. There's like about 40 or so sailors inside of here of varying ranks. They seem to be getting ready for a rowing drill. And Tritnos is wearing a fancy little admiral's uniform, despite commanding one ship, which would make him a captain, not admiral. But he can, pause the exercise for a couple of minutes, head inside of what looks to be, once again, a shipping office. And then you realize as you step up, head up the steps to go inside of the office, above the door frame, this is just his own building. This is not owned by Piave. This is Tritnos' personal shipping company. It reads the Tritnos shipping company. Like, the Archon of Fleet is so irrelevant. They don't even have dedicated facilities. He's using his own personal property to run the entire navy of this city. And he will sit down in his office, take off his toga, and just have, basic tunic underneath. And he'll say, "Well, pleasure to see you again, Onnos."
Good to see you, Tritnos. It's been a while.
It's been a busy couple of years, for sure.
Yeah, how are things going as the Archon of Fleet?
It's sort of like Zuri having an Archon of Monarchy. You don't really have one, so they're sort of pointless. But I've commissioned 2 additional ships, so we'll have a navy that can challenge, no one, but one day. Yeah. And it keeps me in government in all those fun little cabinet meetings.
How big is Zuri's navy?
Zuri doesn't have a port, but one of its allied cities, so basically one of its vassal cities, named Macrius, has a fleet of 20 ships.
Oh, wow, okay.
Oh, got it, okay.
That's the second biggest navy in the league.
Holy shit, alright.
Dude, we're gonna do great at war.
Yeah, we're gonna take those boats. So
yeah, why aren't we doing more wars? I guess that is our whole platform.
Yeah.
Yeah. Surely a naval war against landlocked Echialden would be to our benefit.
They have vassal cities on the coast?
They used to, but not anymore. Piave took most of them.
Damn it. Okay.
Based.
But
We shouldn't
yeah.
ally with Piave anymore. We should sack them.
Tritnos will nod and say, "So, last I heard, what was your official role? You were an official diplomat. What are you doing these days?"
Well, I've been involved in Zurian, well, at the moment, local politics. I've been trying to run a candidate. Right now, we're at the Paralia level. I don't do. Do they have Paralias here?
We don't call them that, but functionally something similar.
Yeah,
Ours
so-
is a hand-me-down from the oligarchy days.
Yes. So I've been mostly dealing with that. How
Well,
about you?
I love the campaigning aspect of it all. The speeches, the public debates, the screaming matches. It's the only thing that keeps me coming back.
I find it more stressful than you, but
I got
I
bored
suppose each their own.
after when, as you may have known, after my difficult term as Archon of War back in '73. I spent a couple years just working in a shipping company. You're lucky when you visited that we even met. I thought about exiting politics entirely, but I mean, it's insane in this city. A Rhizor's threatening to kill his political opponents and steal their property. Heraclitus speaks of killing the Republic and returning to an oligarchy. Lots of talks of violence and bloodshed. I don't know if you know this, but both of them walk around the city streets with armed bodyguards. If, as one of the people there when the Constitution was written in '67, that is explicitly against all rules. We're trying to be more like Zuri, not like Hago. But, well, you need someone with a bit of a sane mind to keep us all from destroying our city.
Yes, that's good. You're still pro-democratic, though.
Of course. I mean, in Heraclitus' system, I'd just be a shipping company owner. I'd be awfully bored.
Yeah, well, I've been. Besides, Zuri and Piave ever concerned about Echiald and backsliding.
I mean, they certainly are. Yes, that's true.
Does it concern you at all?
I mean, Hago, Apar, Gladel, Belta, Echialden, Godaluca, last I checked, we're the only democracies in the League. By that measure, the whole League would concern me.
Well, the whole league does concern me. Most not. Like to see it more.
I mean, I'd like to see a stronger League as well. The Apar-Gladel War is a major example of how the League completely failed to protect its member states, but there's also, even I can acknowledge that there's a deep ideological problem in the League. It's not a democratic one, it's one of dictators and tyrants. We're outnumbered, if you can't count. If we're to do anything, it would be subterfuge.
So how do you think we should spread democracy?
Protect our cities, live our lives. The people of those cities will become democratic or they won't.
You don't want to try and change active?
I'm not opposed to it. It's just, imagine this, okay? Piave goes to war with Echialden, fully. Not this pig war, but an actual real war. We levy the citizen militia, 4,000 men march to the plains of Echialden. We fight in a grand battle. One option, we lose the battle. Piave is re-annexed into Echialden, our little experiment is ended, and we become a dependency of a backsliding, soon-to-be monarchical state led by the Admetus dynasty. Let's say we win the battle. Heraclitus leads our armies victoriously into the gates of Echialden, sacks the seven-gated city, it becomes irrelevant, we rise up, and now Heraclitus returns, declares himself monarch, our democracy is gone. As of the current moment, I don't see either of those outcomes being good.
What if there were to be another factor involved? Zuri.
You're going to convince the isolationist pacifists of Zuri to fight a war?
I've been aspiring to. Now, as
I don't think Zuri's fought a war in decades.
we like got involved at the Apar Gladel at the
In
end.
the last, 3 months, yeah.
Yeah. So we were willing.
All right. Well, I mean, if that were to be the case, and you could keep Heraclitus from wreathing himself in the laurels of victory and declaring himself a king, I suppose that'd be good. But that'd be difficult.
Yes, having Zurian influence would certainly aid in such an endeavor. And
Why do you want to attack Ekialden?
as I said, I'm concerned about the end of democracy.
Oh, come on.
It's true. And I've
Seriously?
been concerned. Yes, I've been concerned about Piave as well. I have an affection for the place.
Are you seriously going to tell me that you're doing this out of the goodness of your heart and the desire to spread democracy?
I certainly haven't profited my family, but
Well, then now I'm even more opposed to it.
oh,
I mean, there's no advantage to... Let's say Ekialden becomes a democracy tomorrow. How does that help me?
well, it would inspire the people, hopefully.
Yes, it would, to go support Arizor, and Arizor would get another reign of terror. I'd probably be having to look at my door to see if any gladiators armed with swords are coming for me next.
And you don't think that it would hurt Heraclitus at all if
I'm
it
sure it
became a
would, but
democracy?
again, I don't want either of them ascendant. You see, I'm walking a very narrow line here. On one side, I have a populist anarchical state where men are being hung and lynched in the courtyards. We had that a decade ago. It was miserable. On the other end, I'm seeing an oligarchy with 12 heads with Heraclitus at its front. We had that 20 years ago. It was also miserable. At the moment, Piave's fine. We have elections. There's no people getting lynched. No people are being killed on the streets. We have occasional property seizures, but those people actually did crimes. We're in a shockingly good state right now.
Yes, but surely it won't stay that way. Surely you want to prepare and take action.
If I were to take action, it would be the legal and political kind, not invading a foreign country.
If this were to happen anyway, surely you would want to be involved as a moderate force, no?
Yes, I'm sure me and my two ships would have great influence. Listen, if you're going to try to wage an ideological crusade against Ekialden, you're better off talking to Arizor, maybe even Heraclitus.
I was hoping to have a more moderate head involved, but that's what must
Me
be
being
done.
moderate means I don't wage crusade. What you're talking about is a crusade, but it's ideological rather than religious. You sound like the priest king of Gotorluka trying to spread his faith to those savages of the desert. I'm not going to go kill what will probably end up being thousands, perhaps tens of thousands of people, because I think that they're not voting in the right way. They have a republic right now. You can say they're backsliding, but they're still voting. You just want them to be a touch more like Zuri. Need I remind you, Piave is also a republic, much like Ekialden. We're not that different in that respect. So I don't like that idea.
Well, I won't force you or anything, so
Not as if you could.
I just wanted to gauge your opinion.
Well, my opinion is if there's profit for it, for Zuri, and keeps us on the moderating path, I'm for it. But what you're proposing is an ideological crusade, and it's not good for anyone. What's even the end state of that mission? Let's say you go to Ekialden, you tell them you've brought democracy, and rather than celebrating you, the people fight against it. They wish to keep Admetus and their other leaders in charge. What do you do then?
I doubt they would.
What if they do? What then?
What if a dragon comes from the desert and raises all of them?
You can't just wipe... You know, this is exactly how it worked in the Apar-Gladel War. The Aparans marched into Gladel thinking that the locals would welcome them. They forgot that they were a slave-owning state and that the people of Gladel practically hated them. Do you know how much intelligence was fed to the Red Banner army during those first couple years of the war? When you walk into Ekialden, you think they'll welcome you because you're bringing them democracy. They'll probably view you as foreign invaders attacking their home, burning down their city, stealing their women and children. I don't think they're going to welcome you. I think what you're going to have is a years-long occupation and then eventually have to give up and go home. And that's what I don't want to be involved in. That's what ideological crusades get you. Give me a hard, concrete end to the mission, and then we can discuss it.
I'll think on it.
You should certainly think on it quite frequently, especially if you're trying to solicit foreign states to join you in this bloody crusade.
Well, it's been good to see you again.
Yes, sorry. That was, I got a bit heated there. If you'd like to come to my home, it'd be my wife, I'm sure she'd love seeing yours. They seem to get along.
Yes, I'll take you up on the opportunity.
And if you see any, Piavan warships along the canal today, make sure to give me a wave. We're doing our first test row on one of the new ships I commissioned.
Yes.
Thank you for
Anyways,
coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, you leave.
Yeah.
You head back out into the city. And would you like a little bit to think?
Yeah, I'll make sure to go hang out with him later. No politics.
Yeah. Alrighty. Yeah, he did quite emphatically shut you down there.
Yeah, he roasted me a little bit, but he's also soy, so L plus ratio.
So true. All right, we're gonna cut back to Okbanax and Midian.
Okay, so there's this ghost.
I swear.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Oddnos is away for a week, so you got time. What do you want to do?
Well, first, have I gotten any letter from the Archmage about the ghost?
Not yet. No.
Okay. Then I would like to find Midian.
Yeah. Midian, when you make your way to his little chateau, he is not working. It's odd. He's actually out front digging an irrigation trench, which sounds like working, but it's different because normally he's just trying to maintain his farm. But here he's thinking about the future, which is rare subsistence farmer behavior. Normally they're like scrounging to keep themselves alive, but you can see him and his immediate family digging a trench from a nearby pond down to his field.
Midian, I call out.
Hello, Okbanax.
Good to see you. What are you doing?
Alex, what am I doing?
Well, yeah,
Besides
when you told your wife that, we don't need to pay it, she was celebrating for basically a full day, and then she's like, wait a minute, since we don't need to worry about getting like crops this year to pay our taxes, we can just focus on long-term improvements that she's always wanted, because you don't need to like be desperately trying to make sure that you fulfill your quota. So she's doing a list. You're basically just doing your wife's list of chores that she's developed over the last like 7 or 8 years, just like fulfilling all these things she wants done. You're de-rocking the garden,
that's
you're
everything,
cutting down
man.
trees,
That's
you're
all I
moving
want.
stumps,
That's a
you're
lot
digging.
right there.
Yeah, you're doing so many chores.
I mean, we still gotta eat and like pay for stuff, but
yeah. And
I'm
this is
guessing
one of
that's-
those.
We only need like a quarter of the original harvest size. now.
Correct. Yeah. And so now you're digging an irrigation trench so that you can build a second field.
Sick. Oh, so we can grow fire moss.
Literally anything you want. Your wife doesn't care. She's thrilled that you have a little bit of free time now, and so you're just working her way down her lengthy list.
Putting me back out into the field.
Yeah, she's getting you in the field.
That's my sweetheart. Anyway, I'll pivot back. We're digging a few new trenches. We think we're gonna expand our field space here a little bit.
Good.
When you look past Midian, you see his wife directing like the kids and the family like she's a foreman. She's like, "No, dig there. All right, straight line." Like she's directing this whole process going on.
Oh, wow. Fascinating. Well, I was wondering if you had a minute to talk. I thought that we could work on your debate skills for the debate.
Yes, that'd probably be for the best.
Good. All right. Maybe go inside or.
Sure. Yep. Come on in. I hope you don't mind my brother or.
Yep, you head up inside, and you can, as you like open up the door, sitting at the dinner table, completely like slumped out in the chair, holding his stomach, groaning with sweat dripping down his face, is Midian's brother. You don't know his name. He's clearly younger than Midian, though. And at the moment,
he seems
looks
unwell,
sick and hungover.
Yeah. We can just pretend like he's not there. It's fine.
All right. Well, tell me, how many debates have you been in the past?
0.
What? Do you not have to make group decisions in war where you have to argue what you're going to do?
I suppose in those situations, there's been someone in charge.
Oh. Well, listen. I guess we'll start from scratch then. I'll tell you. The best way to become an excellent debater, a perfect debater, is to spend your days thinking deeply about subjects, and do that for many years, and have a deep understanding of them. But that isn't really an option here, so instead I will show you the way that most people become good enough debaters, sufficient debaters, strong enough to get them through in some public forms even. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to speak for as long as you think you can get away with, and in that time, turn as many questions onto your opponent as possible, because then you will have given them a question and eaten up all of the time where one could speak, so then they are unable to answer them, making you look very smart and them look foolish and unprepared.
I see.
Does this make sense?
I think so. Yes.
All right, this is not a strategy that I employ, as it is essentially immoral. But like in war, this is a means to an end, and so if it will get us elected, then we can do lots of good.
Very well.
All right, so in that case, let's let's practice. I'll play both the moderator and your opponent. I
Okay.
will ask a question, and then each of us will have a chance to answer it, and we'll see how you do, and then I can give you some feedback.
Okay. Let's try it.
All right. Well, we'll do a simple one. We'll ask if we should go to war with Ekialden. So I guess as the moderator, I'll say, both of you gentlemen, should we go to war with Ekialden? No, see, you've already made an error. I asked the question and you didn't immediately start speaking.
Well, you
See, you
addressed
gave
the group.
you gave me a
Oh.
chance to speak. You're supposed to get the first word and the last word out.
You hear your drunken brother mumble something.
See, even he's speaking.
Oh, what was that? I turned to him, trying to figure out what he's trying to say.
I said war bad.
Okay.
See, he's a more formidable opponent than you at the moment because he's made his stance clear. Now we'll try it again. Should we go to war with Ekialden?
Yes, we should.
See, no, that was good. That was good. Now keep talking and make sure that you say, why doesn't he think this? Why doesn't he think that? Ask me lots of questions like that.
Right. I think we all know very well that Ekialden is on the verge of completely losing any grasp of democracy. And why I think my opponent won't be able to answer is why should we not do something about that?
Oh, well, actually, I can answer that. You see, another mistake. You were not supposed to let me keep talking.
Okay.
If your opponent begins to respond, speak over them.
Okay, let me
Okay.
make a note of that.
Your
Yes.
brother kind of like halfway sits upward and kind of squints and says, "This is stupid.
What?
War is bad. This is stupid."
After all, Equinox, he might be our target audience here. He might be the one we have to convince.
Drunkard, awaken.
What?
I snap my fingers at him.
Stop that.
Awaken.
Spell.
I need your opinion.
What? Wait, what? What?
Do you think he's making good arguments so far?
He just said go to war. That's bad.
Why?
Your brother leaves you for a year.
Then comes back a hero.
No, a lot of them were dead.
No.
Oh.
You see? You see how you do it? Assert that you're right. Eventually
He
they
slumps
give in.
over in the chair again.
As long as you continually assert that you're right, you will be very successful.
Okay, I can do this. I am right.
Yeah. Good. Good. Now, here's the angle that we need to make sure that we're attacking this with. Ekialden is full of the seeds of evil. They are cultivating a culture that could eradicate ours, and so we must restore them to democracy. Okay, you understand that?
Mm-hmm.
This is not a war on Ekialden. This is a war on what's the right word? On monarchy. This is a war on totalitarianism.
Totalitarianism.
Yes, you're familiar?
No.
It's very bad, and we're doing a war on it.
But would a commoner know what it is?
Well, that's a good question. I'll ask you. What do you think a good commoner word would be for what we're making a war against? It doesn't particularly matter if it's accurate.
Tyranny is like the basic one I have.
Tyranny. It's a war on tyranny. That's a very good word. Yes. This is not just a war on Echialden. It's a war on tyranny.
Yes.
All right. You understand that?
I think so, yeah.
And what else have I taught you?
Not to let my opponent speak.
There you go.
And if I do, it's with a lot of loaded questions beforehand.
Keep them. Give them some time to speak. Give them enough time to stumble. Right? But you need to keep them distracted answering your loaded questions so that they never get to present their own policy.
But what kind of I'm trying to like railroad my opponent into?
Ask them things like, so you want to see democracy crumble? That kind of thing. Right? You want to ask them to confirm a vision of the world that is obviously negative. And then they will either have to confirm it, which would be great for us, or they will have to spend all of their time denying it. And then people will in the audience will wonder, why are so many people, all of us, wondering why he wants democracy to die? We don't want democracy to die. If he has to defend it for so long, he might want democracy to die. Meanwhile, you are pro-democracy and anti-tyranny and willing to take a war on tyranny.
That's right. It's the seeds of evil. And they
You
threaten us,
understand?
and we need to save Echialden.
Yeah, so here is I think the speech you give. Members of the assembly.
Okay.
Democracy is in danger. All right, you want to focus on that. You want to focus on how we need to preserve democracy. And then you present Echialden. Echialden is a threat against our democracy because they are backsliding into tyranny and is one of our closest neighbors. It is incredibly important that we keep a close watch on their behavior and are ready to correct any actions that may lead to Zuri or potentially the entire league falling into the hands of a tyrant.
Mm-hmm.
Does this make sense?
Yes, I was making a super mental note of everything you were saying, but I might need you to go over some of it again. So,
No worries.
yeah, they're one of our closest neighbors, of course, and you're saying it's important that we keep an eye on them?
That's a good way to put it, yes.
And prevent a threat of tyranny from growing on our borders.
Exactly.
Perfect.
The front door to your shack opens and your wife comes inside. She's like slick with sweat from being outside for most of the day, and she says, "Oh, how's it going?" And she, walks past you and goes to get some water.
It's going well. I think we're going through debate prep right now.
Oh, wow. You're a politician now. That's crazy.
He's doing
All right.
great.
Well, what are you going to talk about?
Have I been talking to you about Echialden at all?
No, but as I was walking up, I think I heard you talk something about seeds.
Yes, not the seeds
of
that
what?
we do trade in.
What
As you
kind
were
of
saying
seeds?
next.
What kind of seeds? Tell her the kinds of seeds that we're worried about.
Well, yes, we're threatened by the seeds of evil.
Oh, like broomrape and witch hazel, those types of things.
Oh, what specific kind of evil are we worried about?
I feel like you're trying to get me to debate my wife, which is
No.
a very poor idea.
I'm trying to get you to inform her about
Oh.
the things that we're worried about. Seeds of
Yes. What we're worried about is that Echialden is beginning to lose a grasp on the concept of democracy at all. And as they continue to sideslide into tyranny, we feel that it's important that we, as a league, work together and what's the right word? Protect them from themselves in a way. Not so much as a war on them, but a war on the things that threaten to oppress them and could potentially bleed over and oppress us.
Uh-huh. Well, when you're done here, if you could come help me clear out some of the seeds of tyranny from our garden, I'd really appreciate it.
Yes, dear.
Thank you. And she'll get some water and leave the front door.
Now that was quite good, but you gave so much context up front before getting to the thesis. Make sure to establish that we're fighting a war on tyranny, and then explain what you mean.
Yes.
Okay, good.
All right.
Well, how do you feel? You feel ready?
As much as I'll ever be.
Well, Akmanax,
I
you
think
go
I
over,
nailed that.
Yeah, you go over some additional topics, and then you head home, and eventually you make your way out to the garden, Midian, and you slay those seeds of tyranny before they're able to germinate.
Hell yeah.
And
We need to think some more trick questions, I think. Some more railroading questions.
Yeah.
Or sorry, horse trail questions.
We'll cut back to Odnos in Piave.
All right. Treating us seems too rational. He's a lost cause.
Dude, the part where he said, "Oh, by the way, what happens if they don't accept you?" You're like, "Oh, fuck." that was really funny. Okay, yeah. So what next?
America circa 2004.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Wait, where's the angle? Oh God. Oh fuck.
Yeah, I think I visit Heraclitus next. Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, for Heraclitus, he actually isn't in the city. He's out at the mustering field, which is just outside the city. It's a dedicated field. It's called the Field of Battle. It's a very fancy name for just a giant, grassy, field, basically. You make your way out there, and you can find two, what we would call squadrons of cavalry, so 120 men doing maneuvers. These are likely all members of they don't call them the Plains faction in Piave, but basically that. And Heraclitus is at the head of it all, wearing his, plumed helm with a red plume. And it takes a bit, like an hour basically, for him to get some free time, but he'll join you underneath the canopy of a tent, which he is using to direct the exercise. He'll strip off, his plate armor and hang it up on a rack while his attendants help him, remove it. And eventually you and him are sitting underneath this tent, some wine with, basically... A mage has been hired to keep the wine chilled, and so the two of you enjoyed chilled wine underneath the tent in the middle of summer.
No way.
Yeah.
Nice.
Refrigerator mage?
Well,
That's crazy.
yeah, basically. It's just
How
using
much is it? Mages can make so much money. How much are they paying him?
Well, he probably owns the mage.
Ah.
But yeah, Heraclitus is a little bit older than you by about a
Why
decade, I
doesn't he
believe.
just cast freedom?
So true. And he has salt and pepper hair. He has he literally looks like the stereotypical Dellian warrior. He has a big stocky build. He has a trimmed beard. He has ruffled curly hair that's salt and pepper. There's a reason why he's so successful in Piavan politics, and it's not just his words. Just physically, he looks like a soldier and a leader by Dellian stereotypes. And sitting across from you, he'll give you a nod and say, "Welcome, Odnos. How's your horses holding up? Last we talked a couple years ago, you mentioned you got a new warhorse."
Yes, my son was attempting to break it just the other day. He was doing quite well, but just yet.
That's the useful one, right?
Yes, yes. Hallucinous.
Yes, I remember. Well, we never spoke very much, but I did see him during the Aparc Liddell War. If I'd been assigned to the infantry, perhaps we would have gotten to know each other. He seemed like a good boy.
Yes, he's very promising.
Well,
how are things going here?
Generally quite well. As I'm sure you've heard, I'm Archon of War now. It's a bit of an upgrade from finance. Staring at those columns of misappropriated funds by Arizor was driving me insane. At least I can actually do things to improve the city now. It's been about 2 years, and slowly we're getting the Piavan army into real shape. I spent 6 months over on a tour. I stopped by Malgotha, Hago, Beltza, learning how they organize their militaries, and I think I took the most lessons from the Malgothans. They'd been fighting wars for decades as the Red Banner Army, so they know a thing or two about killing men.
Yeah, very talented at such things.
Yes. So,
I'll go as relations with Echialden.
Miserable. I have stopped admitting any of their diplomats into the city. I'm sure that eventually they'll cause a big enough fuss that they get a meeting with the Arizor, but until then I'll keep them at an arm's length. Pillaging has been going well. Depending on how you measure it, we're either slightly profitable since the war started or slightly under-profitable. It all depends on how much you value human lives at. Though I think at the standard slave rate of 40 gold a man, then we're pretty into the green based on our rates. Next year, which, I'll definitely be Archon of War next year. I think that's when we finally end it. Go raid one of their major farming villages, raid one of their allied settlements, or just give them a final, crescendo of violence to tie it all off.
Were things to escalate, would you be prepared?
Absolutely.
Uh,
I've
you-
been running bi-monthly drills with the citizen militia of the city. It's smaller than Echialden's, but I think with all the funding that I put into it, all the training, I can't imagine that Echialden's old army would actually be able to defeat ours.
Yes, that's quite good. You sound like you don't want it to escalate, though.
I'm worried about the League getting involved. I don't want another Apar Gladel snafu where we're arguing in the Dellian Assembly for years about what is and is not defended. As much as I dislike those people of Echialden, Malgotha scares me.
Well, it sounds like we've established precedent, at least in the League, given the way that Ipar and Gladel ended. The jurists seem to have made up their mind.
Agreed, and that's a terrifying precedent. That means, keep in mind, Malgotha owns 2 cities. They have double the population. Ipar was one of the biggest cities in the League. That means, population-wise, they have about 3 times Piave, about double Zuri. If they choose to go to war with another individual city, that city will be defeated. It's that simple. That's why I've been reaching out towards the tyrants of Hago, trying to make a defensive pact. If Hago or Piave find themselves in a war, the other one will intervene. It's what the Dellian League should have been to begin with. For all of the faults of Apar, they were right 4 years ago, and we're starting to pay the consequences now. Malgotha can throw their weight around in the Assembly, they can throw their weight around economically, militarily. The League was not designed with the idea of one power becoming so strong.
Yes, I believe that some of us smaller entities banding together would be quite a good thing.
What we really need to do is kick Malgotha from the League and go reinstate the Zhezhins in Apar and the royal family in Gladel, but it won't happen.
Eric, who's Malgotha again?
Malgotha is the Kingdom of Malgotha, formerly the Red Banner Army. Now they own Apar and Gladel, both under the same monarchy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Hurricane or whatever.
Hurricane the Red, yeah.
Yes. Are you not more concerned about Echialden along your own border?
No, Echialden is inherently cowardly.
Do you think it could benefit you to start to, if things were to become involved with them, do you not think it could benefit you as far as rhetoric goes? As far as
Of course it could. A secure victory against Echialden would be incredible. The problem is they don't want to engage in it. A war requires 2 parties. If they don't raise their levy, our only option would be to go siege Echialden, and there's no appetite for that in Piave right now. A field victory? Absolutely, but a true siege, years long, sacking the 7-gated city, one of the most reinforced land bastions in the League? No, I don't think they would support me in that. That's why we're just doing raiding actions. Both of us like dipping our toes in it.
you don't think that that appetite could be created?
Trust me, I've tried.
You've tried internally. What about internationally?
You mean get other cities on board with invading Echialden?
I've been attempting such things in Zuri.
I mean, Hago could be on board, of course. Their tyrants are quite friendly with my faction. But I don't think Belzer or Godaluka, certainly not Malgotha. Malgotha wishes to see us divided and chattering amongst each other. Belzer is far too focused on killing Hoets than they are to actually do anything useful, and Godaluka just rubber stamps whatever Belzer says.
But you don't think that Zuri holds any sway? That us
Well,
being
they could.
involved?
I mean, having 3 cities against 1, Hago, Piave, Zuri united against Echialden, that would be good. And if we could get them to make some sort of concession, and then we could turn our focus on Malgotha. It's a proposal, for sure.
Yes. I've been, as I said, I've been running a candidate for Strategoi in Zuri. And we're in the process, but I'm intending to advocate a pro-war platform. Zuri, rather difficult, but there are certain rhetorical tricks. But I would intend for this war to be Echialden, having allies in Piave ahead of time.
Well, of course, I'd never say no to assistance in this conflict. If we had a big enough force, 600, 800 men, the pig war would end tomorrow. We could just sack one of their major farming settlements, kill every man, enslave every woman and child, tell Echialden if they continue, next will be their capital. The war would end immediately. And if they retaliate, then we get our field battle that I've been aching for years. No more of this raids, a true battle in the field.
And why not straight for the capital?
Again, it's one of the most reinforced cities in the League. It'd be a siege.
Yes. Well, still, you're approving of the general concept with specifics to be worked out. My family has supported me thus far, but they were looking for some sort of assurance that, first of all, Zuri would not be getting involved alone. They want some sort of assurances from powers that be in Piava that we would have backing. And second of all, they want some sort of benefit to our clan personally. That if we're the ones to be taking on this risk, some sort of potential benefit of the, given that there may be blowback for attempting such things.
Well. Do you mind if I consult one of my overseers?
By all means.
Alrighty. And he'll stand up and wave at one of the people out in the field riding on horseback. The guy comes over, dismounts, takes off his helmet, and Heraclitus will say, what's the biggest herd of horses that you think we could spare as a bribe? And the overseer will think and say, well, probably those 10 riders, the ones that we imported from Tabrash. Heraclitus will nod and give you a look. I could spare those as a thanks to your family.
Eric's, do you think that would satiate my grunkle?
That's a conversation you have to have with him, though I will say in terms of dollar value, 10 wild horses that are not trained for war are going to be worth about 200 gold, so that'd be $200,000.
How much is in the family treasury? How much does my farm bring in a year?
The family treasury is going to have only a couple 100,000. Your farm brings in a couple million.
Pence or gold?
Pence,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The family treasury is quite limited, mostly because most members of your clan keep money for their own devices and only give a very small amount to the clan.
Yes. Well, given that it's my uncle who's concerned about this, I'd want to discuss it with him first, but I believe that this would, it has potential, yes.
Alright, well, suffice it to say, if you're to join us in war, I'd endorse your candidacy, though I don't know if you'd want me to. I get the sense I'm not very popular in Zuri.
No, but if you were to, would you be willing to write a letter of some kind to my uncle?
Certainly. I do have one condition, though, if we are to take Echialden.
Oh, and what is it?
I wouldn't like to see that city go into chaos like Piave did when we had our canal revolution. I'd like to see, order maintained. And I think that Admetus, he'd make a good figurehead of a future Echialden state, an oligarchy, something similar to that.
Eric's, what did he just say? I spaced out.
Admetus, the guy who Arizor said you needed to kill conditionally for him to support you, he would like that guy to live and lead the city of Echialden as an oligarchy.
That's what I thought it was, yeah.
Which is also the exact form of government he wants in Piave, which is an oligarchy led by himself, so.
Yeah. I don't know that I can guarantee such things.
Why not?
Well, as is... How much influence do you wield over Echialden internal politics?
Echialden's internal politics? No.
Excuse me, Piava.
Well, all Archon but one are members of my faction. Only 2 of them even speak out against me, and that's because Tritnos has lost his mind, and Arizor is a bloodthirsty, poverty-stricken whelp who thinks that he can make his city better by killing every person who says that he's wrong.
Yes, I've spoken to both.
You've seen that toga of his, right?
Which one?
Arizor's? The one with the bloody handprint on it?
Yes.
As Archon of Finance, I fined him every single year for disorderly conduct when he wore that robe. That was 700 fines over the course of 2 years. He just paid them all. That's how dedicated he is to reminding us that he killed our friends and family during his little reign of terror.
Yes, that's certainly dedicated. The point
Anyways,
is,
contact your uncle, see if he'll accept the horses. I can't transfer any cash. The spending habits of Archons in Piave have been closely watched. Unfortunately, that was a reform I actually introduced as a way to get back at Arizor, but, well, we're there now.
yes, well, I'll run things by everyone.
Alrighty. Well, he's gonna walk back out towards the field and start to practice maneuvers with his riders again.
And I'm gonna go mental boom.
Does that mean you want to go back to Nick and Ben? Is there anything
For
left to
now.
do in Piave?
We have lots to do on this side still, so you
Okay.
can cut
Yeah.
back.
So
Alrighty.
I wanna swing by Arisor and get the letter and tell him how things went, because I like him. I like him more than Heraclitus. At least.
Really?
No, I don't personally, but Odnos does. Yeah.
Odnos likes Arizor, the guy who
Well-
would kill him?
No, he likes Treatnos, but Treatnos is being a pain in the ass. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because you basically are Tritnos. You're like the Tritnos of Zuri.
Yeah, he likes
okay.
Treatnos, but given the choice, he wants to try and play Arizor and Heraclitus against each other.
Based. Okay, well, we'll cut it back to Ben and Nick. So, it's been like 3 or 4 days since Odnos left, and today, actually, rather than, I'm sure the two of you want to get to something, but you're going to be met. So, Okbanax, at around noon, shortly after your morning lecture, you're getting ready to go do various campaign-related things, and a young man will arrive in your courtyard. He looks a lot like Tritnos, one of your students, but he's a bit more put together. He wears nicer clothes. He doesn't have, like, the marks of various drug addictions that Tritnos does. And he looks around the courtyard until he spots you. And you've seen this young man a couple times before, but you can't remember where. And he'll give you a wave and say, Okbanax,
Hello?
you're my father's ally, correct?
Who's your father?
Oh, sorry, my father's Odnos, Luznos. We met, I think, a couple of times before.
Yes,
but
yes.
never properly
My
introduced them.
mistake. Yes, hello. Well, it's nice to meet you properly. Sorry, what is your name then?
Luznos.
Luznos.
Yes.
It's nice to meet you. Yes, I am. I'm a friend of your father's, of course.
Well, he's out at Piave, as you may know, and so I've been
Yes.
taking over some details of the campaign in his absence, and I found a couple of things, and I wasn't sure, I didn't know if I should reach out directly towards Midian or you.
Me, yes.
All right, well,
Yes, come to me.
I don't know where you'd want to discuss this, if you want to wait until we group up with Midian, but there's
No,
three
it's
angles that we
fine,
can
you can-
discuss.
Yes, well, let's, sorry, where are we now? Is he at my house?
Yeah, basically, in the courtyard
yeah.
outside of your house.
Yeah. Come in.
He'll look around and be a bit surprised, but he'll sit down without comment. And he'll say, well, there's three topics. We can talk about slander towards our candidate, future plans, or the details of the Paralia election.
Let's, start with the details.
All right. Well, I decided to talk to some people throughout the Paralia. The election will be held on the same date as the summer festival, the Dematonis. There will be theater performances, horse shows, things like that. But for our purposes, the estimated voter turnout is going to be about 700 people. Of those, 150 will be Plains faction. Another 300 will be their tenants. So,
Sorry, can I pause you? Do I need to be writing all this down, or can you copy paste this to me
I
in a
can
second?
copy paste this in the
Okay,
chat.
great. Then keep talking.
So that means that roughly 450 voters are spoken for, which means that we'll need to angle more into getting the Plains nobility on our side than, I previously thought we would.
Right.
So it's going to be important to talk to the two leading Plains factions families, those being the clan of Athius and the clan of Luctera.
Athius and Lutera. Yes, understood.
Additionally, it would probably be helpful that we meet with my great uncle. He's at one of the demarks, and he could actually, during the debate section, the demarks are the ones who ask questions, so we could get a question thrown in there during the Stratagoid debate. Only one, but I thought that you'd appreciate that ability to control the conversation.
That would be quite good.
And then the final thing is that there's going to be a former Stratagoid there. He'll be given the chance to speak just prior to the Stratagoid debate, so his voice may hold a lot of weight depending on what he says, and I don't know much about him.
Okay. Yeah, very good. Let's suppose we probably start by speaking with your uncle.
Alrighty. Well, I actually, there's a bit of a family get-together at the Chamaleros estate, so we could go there.
Sure. Yes, that sounds good.
Alrighty. I don't see any reason to bring Midian along with us, do you?
No.
Alright. And he'll lead you out to the street. He brought a horse.
That was good delivery. That was crazy delivery.
You join him on the back of the horse. You guys ride outside of Zuri. It takes about 2 hours on horseback to get to the Chamaleros estate. It's in the shadow of the Teapos Hills. And inside it's not like a full party. It's just a casual get-together. There's a bunch of different people. You recognize a couple of them. Nosa, that lady. You recognize some of, like, Odnos's family members, but his son Iluznos will guide you through this party straight to the direction of
one of these people was like looking at me weird last time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He'll guide you through this whole house in the direction of the great uncle Maris, and eventually you'll get to the back porch. Here, there is a bunch of people playing this game. It's a Paran sport. It's basically bowling on grass, and and recently Odnos introduced it to the family after he was forced to play it in the Demark election. And so now there's a bunch of just random people on the back playing this game, and then seated on an outdoor chair watching it all is the great uncle Maris. Despite it being the middle of summer, he's like heavily bundled up, and Iluznos will approach him, kiss his hand, and then give him an incredibly deep bow and say, Patriarch Maros, it's a pleasure to meet you again. And Maros will just, give him an eye. We wanted to discuss with you the question that you could present in the Paralia election. And Great Uncle Maros will look at you and then look at Iluznos and raise an eyebrow. Go on. And Iluznos will look towards you and say, me and Okbanax, you met him once before. We were thinking about what questions to include, and we thought that your ability to control the conversation would be very valuable. And Iluznos, he's very composed usually, but he starts to trail off and say, so Okbanax, what question do you think would be good?
Yes, well, we're considering. We want to find a question where we can highlight the difference between us and our opponents, and I think that one of the key policy differences is that we are pro-democracy in a way that we actually do something about it. So I would like to come up with something, asking that forces our opponents to defend their commitment to democracy. Well, we will have an easy time protecting that idea.
He just looks at you.
All right, if I'm to come up with it, sure. I was just wanted to make sure I was including all voices. I guess the specific question would be to ask.
Iluznos will say.
I've got it.
Yes,
in what
right.
ways? What concrete actions do you take to protect democracy?
Maris blinks. All right.
Good.
He looks at you and Iluznos, who are still standing there.
All right. Well, it's been very nice to chat. Thank you for the help.
Stop buzzing like flies. And right. Iluznos will immediately withdraw.
Yep. I'm going to leave as well.
He'll sort of do a hearty exhale after you take a couple steps away and say, well, he's quite bristly around the edges, but he really does care for our family.
Good. Very good.
Since we're here, I think that... Actually, we should probably wait until my father gets back. But I did also learn who the other 3 candidates for Stradigoy are, the ones who won their team selection.
Good.
But that's taken care of, all right. I assume you'll want to wait until my father's back to make any overtures towards the other Plains factions' families. It'd probably be better coming from him.
Yes, certainly.
Well then, and he'll sit down at just a random table in the foyer of this vast Chalmaleros mansion, and he'll say, all right, so then there's this other thing, and I've been thinking about it. I think it's a wise idea. It's just a bit risky. So, right now, the Zurian military is untested. Do we both agree on that?
Right now, the Zurian military is untested. Yes.
All right. And so, from the perspective of the average Zurian, they may hold some beliefs, positive or negative, about the military that's not representative of reality. So it's good that they get a reality check. So I think it would be worth it, starting roughly now, that we start pushing a motion through the tribal assembly to host a war game to test the efficacy of the Zurian military. There are hurdles in this plan. We'd have to convince the Stradigoy, we'd have to get the tribe to vote for it, and the worst case scenario is that they actually perform well. If the military performs well, the current Stradigoy is very likely to be chosen again, or at least another member of his faction. But I'm quite confident after my experience in the Pargo
I thought you
War.
couldn't serve twice, right?
Not in a row. So it'd be he'd probably serve in a different office, or it'd be a different, different member of the guild.
Also, sorry, I'm not familiar with this. He said organize a war something?
War game.
A war game?
Yeah.
Not familiar.
Essentially, we'd raise the citizen militia, 3,000, 4,000 men, as much as we could on short notice, though theoretically our military can go up to 11,000. And then we just have them perform activities, have them do maneuvers, have them do mock battles, have them test their ability to function in a military circumstance. And we'd have various metrics. And my goal would be to get members of our family or anyone in the Plains faction on this board that evaluates their effectiveness. Because if we can show the people of Zuri how ineffectual the military is today, I think that would greatly encourage them to elect an alternate candidate for Stradigoy. It doesn't help our particular candidate, it just helps anyone other than the current guildsman in office.
I see. So seek to discredit the current strength of the military in order to promote candidates who will repair the military.
Precisely. It's a big time investment, and there is the risk it goes badly, but I think it's worth it.
Yes, well, I see that as very, very reasonable. It is a little risky, but I think that we should be able to make that work.
Alrighty.
How confident are you that we can take over the board?
Well, the typical way this is done is that you'd have the current Stradigoy and then former Stradigoy serving, and about half of former Stradigoy are already members of the Plains faction, so as long as the current Stradigoy doesn't try to do anything non-traditional, then it would be taken care of by default.
All right. But that sounds like a good plan.
Alrighty. Then I'll speak to my father about it when he gets back. And then the final thing was that one of the other candidates for Stradigoy, a man named Anaxus of Athias, he's made a public speech about 2 days ago, decrying Midion's military service as, how would I put this? Illegitimate.
All right.
Essentially, he claims that Midion never actually fought in the war.
What?
Yes.
That's preposterous.
Well, so there's not, as you know, there's not many hard records kept of conflicts. We just don't do it like that, not like the Mythosians. And most of the people who served in the Athenween War are like. It's not that you're right. It is preposterous. It's just that there's not like a ready archive of information to prove him wrong. So I think it would be wise to prepare him for that angle of attack and get some people that he served with to attest to his character.
How common is this in politics that someone will just make up a bold-faced lie like that?
Well, it's the first time I've been involved, so I'm not quite sure. But considering the types of things that go on in like comedies and tragedies, if those are representative of reality, quite common.
It's an interesting strategy. We should come up with lies about the other candidates.
Well, if we're doing that, that'd be quite easy. We don't even... I mean, if we just claim that every member of the Plains faction has a mistress, we'd be right half the time.
Yes. Yeah, this is good.
All right. Well, I know that you were doing. I know that Father assigned you to do debate prep, so I just wanted you to be aware that that's likely going to come up on stage. So we should be ready to counter it.
Yes, I will speak to him about it.
And then the final thing is that actually, you know what? We'll discuss the rest of it when my father gets back, and I'll keep looking into more details. I think I have angles of attack on all three of the other candidates if we want to go the in the mud approach.
All right.
That's all
Very
I
good.
had for today, though.
Yeah.
I just wanted to keep you apprised of the situation.
Good. Yes, thank you very much.
And
Duly noted.
my father mentioned that he saw my brother at some of your lectures. How's he doing?
He has stopped attending.
Oh. Well, that's unfortunate.
Yes. It was actually after your father saw him there. Scared
Yes,
him
that
off.
sounds like him. All right. Well, thank you.
Yes, of course.
And,
Thank you.
I'll reach out to you when my father gets back from PLV.
Very good.
And he'll give a nod, and he will ride you back to Zuri on his horse, drop you off. Actually, is there somewhere? Do you want to stop by Midion's house? Is there something else you wanted to do?
Yeah, I'll stop by Midian, and I want to at least inform him of the question. I don't know if we need to
Sure.
roleplay a training
Okay.
for it. I guess I'll let you choose that.
Yeah, he'll drop you. Illusionos will drop you off at Midion's house, and then he'll ride off on a horseback. And today, when you search for Midion, you find him in the back, cutting down a tree and using the very old horse that they own to try to pull a stump out of the ground.
Cool. Midian,
Ah, Oxmanax, hello.
hello. It's good to see you again.
Likewise, what brings you here?
Well, I've got 2 debate updates for you.
Oh,
First, I've managed to confirm a question that will be present that I'd like you to consider your answer for. It lines up with the things that we've spoken about so far. It asks what you are actively doing to protect and promote democracy in the Dellian League. And so, what I want you to make sure to talk about. Actually, I guess I'll ask. That's a question that you'll be asked. But what do you have to say? How will you promote and protect democracy in the Dellian League?
Oxmanax, I'm removing a stump from the ground with a horse.
No. This is important. This is urgent. It's a debate. You have to be ready at all times.
Right. I'm saying, what's our strategy for this?
Well, it's something that we've talked about before, so I want to see how well you'll do. I'll help you and tell you how you've done, but
Your son will take the reins of the horse and say, "You can head inside and talk to him, Dad. I'll take care of it."
All right. Thank you.
And you head inside your shack. Your wife's in there making snacks for the kids, but she will vacate so the two of you have a bit of privacy.
What I'm doing is tilling the ground and providing for our city so that we can
oh,
continue
you're running
to
for
maintain
office.
Okay, when you put it like that. But then what is that different from like what my opponent's doing?
What? No, I'm
My opponent
confused.
can just
You've
say
lost.
the same thing.
Say what? I'm so confused.
Running for office.
Yes.
Like, how is that a valid response? My opponent. What happens if my opponent says it the same thing first?
Oh, sorry. I've gotten confused a moment ago. That is not your response on stage. What you are doing to promote democracy is making sure that we have control of. So actually, I actually need to ask: are we saying out loud that we want to go to war with Hekialden?
It does increasingly seem that way, yeah.
Okay, and is that what Odnos is thinking as well?
Well, he's been pretty explicitly saying it to almost everyone he talks to behind the scenes, so yeah, that also does seem the case.
Okay, can we on the campaign trail say it out loud, or is it are you supposed to dog whistle the whole thing?
Oh, no, you're allowed to say literally whatever you want on the Zurian campaign trail. You could say, "I want to kill this person with legal means," and that's you're allowed to say that. It's
We could just say we want to take an active approach to protecting democracy.
Yeah, I think that we can dog whistle it for a bit.
Okay, sure.
As long as
but
the
a
important
strong
people
one.
know the truth, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So what we're doing to promote democracy in the area is we are actively fighting tyranny by trying to exert strong control in the region against anyone who doesn't have a state where the citizens can participate in their government.
What if I change that word to assert?
Assert, I think that's a reasonable
Assert
choice.
control.
I'm
Also,
glad
wait,
that you're thinking about this kind of thing.
you say actions that I am taking right now, or actions that I plan to take as
Plan to take.
plan to take. That changes. Okay, that changes the entire
And
question.
some of those actions can be that we're going to improve the military, right? We're going to train them better. As currently everybody knows they are out of shape. You want to share that. Talk about how the military is currently not in shape. That's the thing you should bring up on stage, and we can be people who will fix that. We will get them in good order.
Right. And if my opponent, who might not support this, would then support an out-of-shape military.
Yes, and that's quite bad. And you should
Yeah,
ask them, why would you support an out-of-shape military when they have no time?
If you don't support an in-order military, then clearly you support a disordered military.
There you see, you are getting quite good. You are getting quite good. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to tell you is that I know of an accusation they're going to leverage against you on the debating stage.
Aye.
They will assert boldly that you did not actually fight in any war.
Really?
Yes. Which is absurd because, to be clear, you did, right?
Yes.
You really did.
Yes, but I'm I'm not sure there's any paperwork outside of my own medal and uniform.
Well, but people were there when you got your medal, right? It was like it was in the town or something, or
Alex Shirley, yes.
Yeah, it was voted on by
Okay.
basically a bunch of soldiers that served with you, came back to the Zurian Agora. They then told the tribe the action that you did. The tribe is like, yeah, that sounds good. And half of the assembled people, more like 70%, voted that, yeah, you should be awarded a medal of service to the city of Zuri.
Let's go, super majority.
Yeah.
all right. Well, then if that's all the case, then you'll say that on stage, and then say that the opposition sounds crazy for suggesting such a thing.
Well, do we know who I'm running against?
Yes. Alex, I've almost entirely forgotten that.
That's
list
fine.
from.
He only gave you one name. He didn't tell you the other two because he said he'd wait until Adnos got back.
Oh, okay. Well, then what was the one that he gave me?
Anaxis of Athius.
One of the candidates is a man named Anaxis.
That's his
I
deal.
don't remember much about him. I'll have to give you a full roster update later. I only learned of the one, and I've misplaced the details.
Aye, okay.
So I hope you understand.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Is he the one that's planning to raise this accusation?
I do not recall.
Based.
Very well. I mean, you know what they say.
Do I?
Figures can't lie, but liars sure can figure.
Well said.
All right. Well, as you leave his house and you make your way home, Akbanax, you receive a letter back at your little estate.
Let's go.
It is from the
Ghost
Archmage
time.
of Beltza.
Let's go.
Oh my-
Ghost time. Ghost.
And
There will be no second.
as a response to your letter, he confirms that yes, he does have knowledge of the realm of souls, and even drops the hint that he has actually been there once.
What? Okay, then I would like to give him a more detailed letter describing the full state of the patient.
Yeah. And what's the request?
Oh, if he thinks that this matches, if the theory that his symptoms match up with a theory that he's partway through the realm of souls, and then if he knows any stories about such a thing happening, and then I'll even throw in at the end and if you're really so interested, you should come by and meet him.
Okay, sounds good. Then we will cut back to Odnos in the city of Piave.
I'm just gonna swing by, get the letter from this guy, and call it good.
Alrighty. Well, you make your way back towards Arizor's estate. It's been 4 or 5 days, near the end of your little break here. You head into the appropriated mansion that is now the personal residence of Arizor. You and your wife, as is usual, have kept a distance during this vacation. Other than occasionally at night, she tells you some gossip. None of it's been very helpful towards your actual aim here. She is mostly there so that you don't have, like, it's not a thing that you have to explain. And when you head into Arizor's estate, she goes off to speak to Arizor's wife and other women of his life, and you make your way up the steps once again to Arizor's office. When you head inside, you find that there are now 4 armed bodyguards seated in the room. One of them has like a cut on his cheek, and Arizor is positively tempestuous behind the desk. He looks pissed off. And this was your scheduled meeting time, so hopefully it's unrelated to you, but he does seem very frustrated as you head inside.
Hello, Arizor.
He stands up and starts to open his mouth, but then he closes it. He looks kind of like a fish. Welcome.
You seem to be in a tempestuous mood.
There was a struggle in the street today between one of my bodyguards and one of Heraclitus's men.
And I take it that it didn't go well.
There is no going well when 2 Archons have their men fighting each other in the street. He also violated a rule he's meant to follow, which is no weapons within the city. And your eyes kind of naturally dart towards the 4 armed bodyguards sitting in the room.
Yes,
Either way, I'll deal with Heraclitus later. I thought about your offer, and I think that it would be a worthwhile investment. I assume that the sums that your family would require are, in terms of states, quite low. Perhaps a couple thousand gold.
Yes, that would be fine.
Alrighty. Well, I will have, You came here on horseback?
Yes.
Carriage. Alright, horse. Well, then I'll have some saddlebags prepared with proper coinage.
Eric's, was I in carriage?
Sounds like you're on horseback.
I thought I was on carriage. I'd have done it
Then
by
you're in a carriage then.
We'll
He'll,
retcon that.
Then he'll prepare a chest filled with currency, and he already has the letter written. It's basically just says in plain text that Arizor supports the interests of Clan Chalmaleros in Zuri and their views towards the city of Echialden, all kept incredibly vague for intentional reasons, because if this somehow gets leaked to like the press of Piave, he doesn't want to explain it. He will also mention the funds you're going to be receiving are also state funds, so just make sure that I don't have to ever hear about it again.
Yes, I will do so.
Alrighty. Well, I wish you luck, and if you progress through the Paralia election, make sure to inform me. And I look forward to achieving this together.
I as well. And I should tell you, I've spoken to the others and
Gotten.
Oh, just what they're, I've learned more about the state of internal politics in Piave. Yes.
Yes, I'm sure you're not envious of my position then.
Yes,
I'm
can't
dealing
say
with
that
a
I
city
am.
of undemocratic savages.
Yeah, that's very apparent.
Well,
Especially after
between you and
speaking to
I,
Heraclitus.
since Heraclitus is no longer the Archon of Finance, next time that I find him misusing government funds, it's going to be quite good.
Yes, I should be going.
Of course. And he gives you a kind of creepy smile, to be honest. Because what he's talking about is stealing all that guy's property. And then probably giving it to himself.
That's their problem. So I'm back to Zuri.
Is this not truly the democratic experience, making alliances with deeply undemocratic states for your own benefit? Oh, man. All right, you make your way back out to the carriage. You double check, and there is 1,500 gold inside the chest in the back of your carriage. You invite your wife out, and the two of you leave Piave. making your way back to Zuri. The entire time, you are terrified. Something as simple as a highwayman apprehending you could lose you $1.5 million, but hopefully it'll be fine. And turns out that it is. Again, the border of Ekialden and Piave really is just not that war-torn. It's just not. And after 2 days on the road, well, I guess realistically a day on the road, but more like 2 days, closer to 2. You arrive in the city of Zuri, back to home. Well, technically you arrive in your estate, but home sweet home. The moment you get out of the carriage and you walk out to go draw a bath, your wife heads inside and your son, is waiting in the doorway, and he'll say, "Welcome back."
Hello, how are things here?
Well, actually, we have quite a bit to talk about. I think that we should pull together everyone related to the campaign.
Yes.
But that
yes,
can wait until tomorrow. I'm sure you're tired.
Yeah.
Did you achieve what Uncle Maris asked for?
Shockingly, yeah.
What did
No,
you get a concession
I
on?
assume. Excuse me.
What did you get a concession on? What'd they give you?
I've gained 1.5 million pence. Potentially some horses.
That's almost
and
4
two,
times what our uncle put in.
Well, they offered, so.
Should we not
What was I
keep some
gonna
of it
say,
for
no?
ourselves?
We'll think on that, but probably not. I need to rest.
All right, I'll talk to you in the morning. You get to bed, and that question of what to do with that colossal sum of money haunts you while you sleep. That is way more than your uncle gave you. Your uncle gave you conditionally like 400,000, roughly, and you got essentially, if you were to keep the money that you just acquired, you'd be up to a money factor 7. Now that would make your uncle lose his fucking mind. He'd probably actively try to prevent you from ever getting office, and it could schism the entire Chalmaleros family because it's enough money. But also, that's a lot of fucking money. You may
Wait,
not need any more financing.
What's the conditions on him keeping this money?
Basically, the money it's not actually meant for Jackson. It's meant to facilitate a bribe between him and the rest of his entire clan, which is 10 other landowners of the Plains faction who come along with tenants as well and stuff like that. So realistically, he should just split it up amongst his whole family.
Yeah, what would the money factor change to if I were to put it in the family?
Nothing. It would just be distributed to your family members, and you'd keep the 4 of what you have right now.
Soy. It wouldn't even go up to like 5?
No, because it's not for the campaign. It's for your family members. It's direct bribes into their pockets.
Oh, they better show up for this shit.
Well, the following morning, you head down to breakfast. Your son is there. Your family's there. Bright and chipper. And after breakfast is finished, your son will strongly encourage you to hold a meeting with Midian and Okbanax because he has a lot of stuff to discuss.
Yeah, I'll send for them.
Alrighty. Okbanax, when a random man shows up on horseback and says that Odnos wants to meet with you, will you get on his horse?
Yeah.
Alrighty, and I'm sure that Midian will, because it's Midian. So, at about 11 in the morning, the 4 of you are seated around a dinner table in the Odnos estate. I think that's the first time that Okbanax has been here. There is some lemonade, which is not cheap, because it has sugar in it, which is not cheap. Then there is like orange slices. Basically, it's a whole plate of like floral and summery foods. There is Odnos and his son on one side, and Okbanax and Midian on the other. And Aluznos will start by speaking and say, well, it's good to see you all. And now that my father's back from Piave and he's dealt with some internal financing issues of the campaign, I thought it would be good to get us all together and discuss the Paralia election. It's about a month away, and just to figure out what our strategy is going into it.
Yes, well, I assume that we should start with who the other candidates are.
All right. So, I asked around. Maris, Uncle Maris, was our best resource on this. There are 3 other candidates, as is tradition. Lycnios, he's our first opponent. He is a self-made candidate in the sense that, as far as I can tell, he's not endorsed by any of the major families. He admits openly he has no military experience, and he mostly focuses on a defensive posture, isolationism. This policy has been successful in the past. The current Stratigoy is quite similar. But I think that focusing on his defensive attitude could yield us some results. I just don't know how much of an appetite there is for, sitting on our hands and letting the world change around us at the moment. But either way, next is a man named Keption. He fought in the Apar-Gladel War, though, when I say fought, I mean more so in the sense that he rallied troops. He never actually killed a man, he never fought in battle, but he is endorsed by the Plains faction family, the Luktara, which, that voting block alone is probably what got him out of the Deem selection. Then lastly is an Axis of Atheus. Based on his last name, I'm sure you can guess he's endorsed by the Atheus clan. He's also served in the military on and off for about 20 years, meaning he fought in the Apar-Gladel War, he briefly fought in the Athnaween Bush War, he's fought in minor skirmishes against Beltsa and Echialden. He probably has the most combat experience, but that combat experience comes with a caveat, as he's always been a leader, not, fighting on the front lines. So his knowledge is, I guess, logistics based, less so, stabbing men. So those are the 3 rivals, and then as I told Akbanax, there's going to be a former Stratigoy overseeing the proceedings, Procyon of Agis. He was the Stratigoy of 1273, and he attempted to get Zuri to intervene in the Apar-Gladel War, which failed. We didn't intervene until 1274, so his reputation within the city is quite poor since he failed to do his one promise, but I imagine that his voice will be given lots of weight in the proceedings, so we want to be on his good side.
And he's in favor of foreign interventions, as it seems.
Aggressively, yes. But so are the other 2 of the other candidates. Both Keption wishes to position us against Malgatha, and Anaxis, I'm not sure specifically who he wants for us to fight, but his speeches always center around, violence, bloodshed, arming the militia, that sort of thing.
Do you know what motivates this Procyon and his will for intervention? Why he wants to?
I couldn't say. I know that he owns a small estate in Agis. He's a member of the Hills faction, former tenant, bought his land from his landlord. But beyond that, I couldn't find much about him. He had a quite meteoric rise and then meteoric fall.
Hey.
So, with all that said, what do we want to do as we go forward?
Vent plans to are endorsed.
Unfortunately, Jackson, your voice is cutting out quite heavily. There's like 3 words and then it cuts out. No, it's been consistent. It's just most of the time I'm able to figure out what he said. That time, though, it was so cut out I can understand any of it.
That's am I speaking clearly now?
No, yeah, we can hear you. It's just sometimes when I think it's a volume thing, you talk a bit too quietly and then it cuts it out.
I see.
Sorry, one of our friends showed up at my house and then he's making a ruckus with my roommates. They're trying to prank me and shit.
Oh, I see.
Damn.
Well,
sorry, I'm getting a little pranked over here.
I see that. We're just talking strategy going into the Paralia election.
We got invited a few of my homies that either I served with or were witnesses to that medal ceremony.
It's a good idea.
That is true.
Yeah, you should do that. Do we want to focus on getting this Stratigoid? Do we want to try and... These families already endorsed candidates, right? So is that a potential front?
I think Aluznos will nod and say, I think it'd be difficult to get Atheus, since it's a member of their own family that's running, but the Luktara are endorsing just a sort of a Midian-type character, not a member of their family, just someone who lives on their properties. So perhaps we could convince the Luktara on our side. I'm not sure what they'd want, though. That'd be more the realm of Uncle Mernos.
I think that candidate would also be easily bribed.
Could you be easily bribed to give up on running?
No, but I am loyal to Odnos in a way that this candidate might not be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to their,
Sure. Well, yeah, I'm not sure. I think it'd be wise to get at least one of the Plains faction families on our side. I explained this to Okbanax, but if you look at the voting numbers, about 450 votes are controlled by members of the Plains faction. Just the Chalmaleros family controls roughly 90. Adding that on, assuming we get every single neutral voter onto our side, that still barely brings us above 50%. So I think it'd be wise to get at least one other noble faction on our side.
Yes. Do you think it would still be worth it to hold a campaign event and try and get some of those swing votes?
Yes.
Yes.
And we need all of them to even have a chance if we can't get one of the nobles on our side.
Yes, I think
I
I'll
can take
put
care
you
of it.
on that. Yes, I'll speak to the Taras, I think.
I would need Midian to, shake some hands and kiss some babies, but
Yes. Once he's between him finding his war buddies that make a good project for him. Yes.
I could make it 2-in-1. I could hold a memorial service for the fighters who died in the Athnaween War and honor those who survived it. Have Midian be the central speaker, could give him a chance to reconnect and also explain to the community his military service.
That's very good. Yes.
All right.
I mean, it'd be good, but it would also be maybe one of the least sympathetic groups to a strong on war front.
In what sense?
It's going to be a crowd grieving the losses of the war.
I don't think that in every speech you need to be speaking about the virtues of war. In this one, you can simply honor those who died for defending the democracy of Zuri. I don't think anyone's going to be siding with the Athnaween. We're lucky you didn't fight in the Apar Gladel War. Defending that would be a lot more difficult.
And that's the truth.
Well, I'll start putting that together then, Father. Is there anything else you need from me?
I don't think so. Not yet. You've done well.
Thank you. So, for all of you guys, what do we need to get done before the Paralia election?
A lot of things.
Yeah. Well, we got one item on the list. Midian War Buddies / campaign event. What else do we need?
I think the endorsement of Luktara is probably... Should I visit my uncle and let him know that he said that the uncle would have a lot to say about Luktara?
About both of the Plains factions, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm gonna go to uncle.
Okay, are you taking Midian with you? And Okbanax?
He loves me.
He did say that he had a pretty face.
He also said, you should leave so the adults can talk.
He did
Yeah.
also say that, yeah.
Would there be a reason I need to bring Midian?
No, I was just asking.
No, I'm gonna leave him to kiss babies.
Okay.
Damn it.
Alrighty. You make your way to the Chalmaleros estate, but as you're going there, you get sort of, when you get there, you are told that your uncle is visiting your actual uncle. So Great Uncle Meros is visiting your actual uncle who ran your estate when you were a young man. So you go there, which is even closer to your home. And at the estate of your uncle, you find a little get-together of the old timers of the Chalmaleros clan, only men above their 60s. And they're all sitting around a table playing a card game. And you can kind of slot in, because you're not too young yourself, though you're not as old as them. And after, pleasantries for about an hour, you can eventually get a individual conversation with Meros. You and him go to a little side room, which has some servants in there, and then he, waits for them to go away, and he'll just sit and stare at you.
What can you tell me about the Luktara clan?
In general, or for this election?
For this election.
Well, the head of the Luktara family is named Odnos, like yourself. They run candidates almost every single year. This year they're running for Archon and Basilius with members of their own family, and endorsing candidates for Strategoi and Master of Ceremonies. That means they're spread thin. They don't have the funds to endorse a candidate for every single position every single year with their full-throated support, which is good for us. We never get them to unendorse their own family members, but their pick for Strategoi has weaknesses to him. You can go meet with Odnos if you like, but from my reading of things, if you can prove that their Strategoi can't win in a tribal election, and you also make it profitable for Clan Luktara, they'll abandon him and support Midian.
As in, we wouldn't even need to meet with them?
No. Give them some coin just prior to the election as a sign of goodwill, and destroy their candidate on stage, and I'm sure we'll be fine.
Yeah.
And I don't mean, out-debate him. I mean, you must get evil and nasty with it. I'm not sure if Midian's fit for it, but he'll need to bring up personal affairs. I spoke with your son. He mentioned that Keption has no war experience. That needs to be shoved down his throat.
And what can you tell me of this?
Of who?
Jace.
Well, I mean, obviously I was indeed involved in politics at the time, but he was a bit of a dark horse. He was a member of the Hills faction. Much like Midian, he was sponsored by various Plains factions, families, and they wished for war, but he failed. His sole goal was to get us to involved in the Apar Gladel War, and when that Zezhan prince came here from Apar, Aeolian, the two of them went on a little speaking tour around the city to try to rally the tribe to their side, but they failed, and Procyon did nothing. Functionally, his year was worthless, but because he's a former Strategoi, he still holds a bit of sway. As for why he wished to go to war, I think he had a very rose-tinted view of it. He's never fought. He didn't fight. As Strategoi, he hasn't fought before then or since. He has no experience in conflict. He thinks of it as an adventure.
This can be used.
Agreed. I don't think there's even the need to bribe him. I know him well enough to think that he won't strongly pick and endorse one specific candidate. He'll endorse a point of view. As long as we stay on our current path of being pro-war, I think that we'll be fine as far as it goes with Procyon.
Yes. And I would, yes, I suppose our main issue that kept...
Yes, destroying Keption on stage is going to be critical, and Anaxis is probably your only real rival for the position. Keption, no war experience. I think that, even a trained monkey could destroy him in an argument, but Anaxis of Atheus has fought for a long time. He's endorsed by the Atheith clan, who have fought for a long time. He has a large budget. I know for a fact that he's gone around bribing other demarks, so you can expect a couple of questions that he's thrown in his direction that he's fully prepared for.
Yes. I have good news, Uncle.
Yes?
Yeah. Well, first of all, have these letters.
Yeah, he'll read the letter from Arizor. You didn't get one from Heraclitus, right?
I thought I did.
Oh, okay. Then he'll read the... Well, either way, Heraclitus made a promise, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, he'll look at both of them and give a nod and say, anything material?
Yes. 1.5 million pence.
All right. Split it up and give it out to each of the landowning members of the family equally.
I don't suppose any of it could be used for the campaign or bribes or the like.
Mm. Well, we're going to need to do some events and campaigning prior to the Paralia election, but that's not what this money is for.
All right.
I strongly recommend that you go find a financier. We'll want to probably pass out low-scale bribes to most people attending the festival. That means, paying for a play, paying for the commission of a statue, giving just coin into the pockets of people who attend the voting. We want to grease every palm a little bit rather than focusing on big bribes towards the powerful families. Though, the Luktara will also want some of theirs. But to do all that, our current funding is not enough. You'll need to seek out someone who can get you more.
Was it this guy or the other guy who spoke about the mining operator?
That was probably your uncle, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Procor, the silversmith and blacksmith and now mine owner.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the guy who wanted you to remove workers' protections and weaken peonage laws.
Yeah. Seems like a good chap.
Yeah.
So let's got low scale bribes, get money and give the Luktaras a bigger bribe. Find
And again,
a way
keep
to
in mind, this is if you want, don't take what he's saying as gospel. This is just, if you want the most guaranteed method of winning humanly possible, it's bribe Luktara, bribe everyone, post-campaign event, get a financier.
Do we have the money to do a bunch of mini bribes like he suggested?
No, the only thing that you can currently afford is a small campaign event, which will be hosted by your son and Midian.
Okay,
and
so
that
we
also
need
is
to-
mostly like a memorial type thing.
We need to find dirt on Keption and get that bag are our two priorities.
Okay.
So my
Just
son's
so you know,
busy.
in terms of timing, we probably got 10 more minutes of scheming before we got to do the Paralia election.
Yeah, so I am going to... Is there any way I would be good at getting dirt on Keption, or could
What
I
would
like...
be your method of acquiring that?
Yeah, that's the point. Is there any like family grifters that I could pay?
Well, since your money factor is at least 1, you could just hire a member to, like, a full-time worker to your campaign. You haven't done that yet, but you could just hire a guy and be like, yeah, your full-time job is to go ask people what Keption's deal is.
Yeah, I'm gonna hire some PIs.
Great. You can just do that. Same as the Midian Alusnos War event. We don't really need to play through that too much. I just have some questions for Midian.
Great.
So, you and Odnos' son are going to work together for about 4 days putting together this event. It's going to be a memorial service for the Athnoine Bush War that you fought in. In the city, it has a more common name, which is the War of Athnos' Barn, but that's like a mouthful, so you typically just call it the Bush War or something similar to that. There were about 100 dead Zurian soldiers in that conflict, so not a huge number, but still, because of that, you'll know almost all of their names. And so it's going to involve like wreath laying and going to like the graves that are spread throughout the rural Paralia. It's a big like parade / dick suck event. But what is your tone while you're at this memorial? Obviously, you're going to meet up with some war buddies. We can kind of skip over that because it is a very baseless attack. You did indeed fight in that conflict. But
Yeah.
is your goal to are you going to be like, yeah, it's really sad that these men died and their sacrifice was worth it and all that stuff? Or are you going to try to spin it into and that's why we should go to war with Echialden? What's the strat there?
It's not gonna be full twist, but it's gonna be like sad with a little like flick of the wrist at the end.
Okay.
Like a
I
little
would
we gotta make sure this never happens ever again.
I would like a plain charisma check with a +2 because Akbanax has been actually attempting to help you in your speeches.
Awesome. Poink.
That's a 16. Okay.
Let's
You
go.
It's not like the world's best speech, but considering there's only about 40 people here, and about half of whom fought in the Bush War, you're preaching to the right crowd. Most of the people here can't vote because most people in Zuri can't vote. It's only a very particular type of person, those being adult men who own land in the city. But you're going to meet up with some old war buddies, and your message of, we died to defend Zuri, but that defense isn't done yet, seems to go over pretty well amongst the group here. Okay.
Sorry, I accidentally rolled athletics there, but it would be sick to end that speech with a backflip.
And the speech with a backflip. That goes hard. Alrighty, so that event happens. Odnos, you hire on a PI. The result of that is basically the same thing as your son said, which is Keption has no combat experience. He's never read, as far as they can tell, he has no formal education. He has no informal education. He's never fought in a battle. He's never killed anyone. He's just a guy who technically fought in the Apargladel War. Technically.
Nick,
yeah.
you hear that? Seek and destroy.
I actually missed it. What happened?
Eric, can you go over it again for him?
You can.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, this guy has no military education, no combat experience, no commanding experience, if I recall.
Yep.
He was technically in the Apargladel War, but never saw combat or anything. So you need to rub that in his fat face.
And what's his name again?
Keption.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
That's
Thank you.
priority number one on the debate stage, probably, is to nuke that guy's ego.
Just knock him out right at the start.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
And then, do I have IRL time to try and find a financier?
Technically, you do. But you kind of already had an agreement worked out with Procor. The main reason you didn't go for it is because you had Maris, your family member, to basically also give you money. So you kind of already know Procor's condition. When you become Strategoi, he wants you to use your position in government to openly advocate against the abolishment of worker rights.
For the abolishment of workers' rights?
Yep.
Yeah.
He wants Strategoi Midian, who is not really supposed to oversee it at all, to introduce bills and be a firebrand against the plight of the worker in Zuri.
He's the Strategoi.
Yeah, and he also wants you to do that during the tribal election.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
That is his condition. That would put you at a money factor of 9, though.
Holy shit. Okay. Should have just stolen the family money, damn it.
Yeah. Now, once you get to the tribal election, you'll get access to 2 new financiers. 3 new financiers, those being urban ones. But for this Paralia election, you literally have one guy, and he wants you to literally sell your soul to the devil.
I don't think I'm gonna do it.
Okay, so
any thoughts, Ben or Nick, if Ben's even here?
I think he's deceased.
Rip.
Oh, he unmuted.
Yep,
but...
sorry, am I here? I'm here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it is immoral.
I'm willing to do some skeevy stuff.
Yeah, I admit though, it is funny
hard.
to be elected Secretary of Defense and then spend your only opening speech saying, "I think workers deserve less rights."
Unions.
Okay, so there is 2 days to the festival, and we're going to play out both of them. So is there anything? So the election's only on the second day, so you will have some time to discuss and get a vibe of the people involved in the election, all that stuff. But before we arrive to the festival, is there any final things you want to do?
Ben, did you ever write a speech?
No.
Good luck, Nick. Good luck.
All right. Are you going to do that side-by-side thing, or is it just up to Nick?
I thought it was up to Nick. I could try and come up with something.
I've got an outline written down.
Based.
All right. I didn't realize that.
It needs to be a minute, by the way, because I'm going to do it for all the other guys as well. Yeah, and I don't want to be here for 35 minutes talking.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, I probably have 15 seconds. I can.
Perfect.
15 seconds.
Alrighty. So final chance. Literally anything we can. We can even do the time thing where we rewind a month and do this thing beforehand. So is there anything we want to do before the How about we do that after the Paralia election or next time?
Okay.
If there is a next time.
Yeah, good point,
There will
actually. Actually, even if there isn't a next time, I do want to come back and just do that little side story of Aquanax.
Yes.
Well, we will be staging an insurrection.
Game,
if we
game
lose.
turns into Aquanax game where he's a ghost hunter.
Actually, wait, you would have gotten a reply to the letter because, yeah, it's been several weeks. So before the Paralia election, you will get a response from the Archmage. His diagnosis, after you gave him your theory and you described the conditions, is that the person you are attempting to cure is possessed by a demon.
Oh.
That is his prognosis.
Okay. What does he suggest I do anything about that?
He says talk to a cleric.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eric, how would it go over if we got like a bunch of people and just hired them to shout abuse about what's his face?
Keption?
Yeah.
So a bunch of people, poor taste, disgusting, evil, wrong, don't do that. But a single bard? Now that's commonplace. In fact, you're almost 100% certain one of your opponents probably hired a bard already just to do that. That's just a part of elections in Zuri. You're supposed to have a bard there who just talks shit about every person they see.
Yeah, so we're gonna do that.
All right,
Right
you
to the
hire a
assembly
bard.
hall that wrote an original song, Keption Gets No Hose.
What are the other standard things we're missing?
Can I go into like the square and talk about like pro-war stuff? Just kind of like lecture to the town?
Do you want to do that at the festival or in advance to the festival?
In advance.
Okay. Yeah, you can go out to the streets of Zuri and, speak about your pro-war stance. Amongst the audience that lives near your house, those being craftsmen and guildsmen, you are largely ignored and or ridiculed. No one will debate you, but they do laugh at you and walk away.
Well, if it's not going well, I'm going to go to a different area.
I see. Okay. I think the vibe that you'll get is that there are like 3 sections of the city, 3 classes of people who have zero interest in what you're selling, those being guildsmen, craftsmen, and artists. Other than that, though, like, I guess your philosophical defense of war is not very convincing to people, but your specific critiques of the city of Ekialden being like, a dictatorship and threatening the safety of Zuri, those seem to actually have like some engagement with them. Like people are like, oh, yeah,
dude, it's always the applications and never the raw philosophy that people are interested in. Brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. But you also won't get much formal pushback just because most philosophers don't particularly like the only other political philosopher in Zuri, most famous one at least, which is Chalmiansis. He doesn't talk to people unless they're like really popular, and you haven't quite broken through the floor on that.
Well then that's good. So there's only 3 groups I'm losing out on?
Those are the biggest voting blocks in the city, but yes, there's only 3 groups you're missing out on.
Okay.
Like the guildsmen were single-handedly able to elect the entire current government. So.
Okay. Well, it's not about biggest voting blocks. It's about most voting blocks. Because then I have more than them.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Either way, at the moment, luckily, through no control of your guys' own, the guildsman voting block has been fragmenting all year because the 3 candidates they elected have done not great at their jobs. So, unless they manage to galvanize that voting block, then you guys should be fine. In that regard.
That's good to hear.
This is a next week thing, though, right?
Yes, this is all next week things. Yeah. So is the next week is also going to be the trying to get that like war game to happen. That's also going to be a next week thing.
For now, I want to hire whatever the standard is. I want to hire that for people. Right. And then what's like the top dog shit I could get with a money for that factor of 4? What are my options?
With a 4, the biggest thing you can do is a campaign event, which you've already done.
Okay. Can we do another one?
Nope.
You said that for the money factor, it was just
the reason why you can't do another one has nothing to do with money. It's that Eluznos doesn't want to organize another one because he needs like a really specific like what's the concept of the campaign event? Like what's the idea?
Vote for our guy.
That's not bro. Come on.
That's literally what Trump won 2016.
Yes, that's what we do nowadays, but that is not the standard in Zuri. In Zuri, you're supposed to be a little bit underhanded about it.
Vote for our guy.
In Zuri, you're supposed to like sponsor things and like do it a bit more like subtly than literally put up.
Let's sponsor a debate where it's like me versus some soy.
What about like an anti-Keption rally?
What the fuck?
Wait, where's the dog lover?
Yeah, my son.
Yeah, let's stage that 1v1.
Okay, it sounds like we got everything we need for the festival. We're gonna go into it now. So, alrighty. On the 14th of August, you guys make your way out towards the countryside to the Paralia of Ajasti, which is where you guys have been running. Here is held the Demetonis Festival, which was a 2-day summer festival, and back in 1268, so about a decade ago, the Hills faction, through popular initiative, managed to change it so that Election Day was held during the festival. So that improved voter turnout by quite a bit, actually, because instead of just traveling to like go vote, you also get to travel and get tasty food and see horses and performances and stuff. It boosted voter turnout by about 15%, and it keeps going up each year. So big W for the Hills faction, big L for you guys. And as was expected, as you guys arrive, there are about 2,500 attendees. So this festival is crawling with people as they go to horse shows and theater performances, mostly comedies, though there is a small little tragedy contest held on the second day prior to the elections. And as you guys walk around and explore the premises, you see, of course, the 3 other Strategoi candidates. You see this candidates for all the other offices as well: Archon, Basilius, Master of Ceremonies, and Odnos. You actually see a familiar face over near in the like large public space where the performances are being held. You see seated on one of the benches a very tired, older-looking man who you've actually given large amounts of money to in the past for his artistic projects. Democritus of Zuri is just sort of sitting on a bench looking at the stage as a comedy unfolds, and he looks rather depressed.
Huge. Oh no, why is he sad? I'm gonna go over.
He looks over at you. Ah. Hello.
Democritus. He seemed down in the dumps.
I think I've lost my spark.
How's that?
Well, I know, did you see my last play?
The one about the pirates?
Yes.
Yes, it was something. I won't lie and say that it's the greatest.
Everyone else seems to agree with you. It was certainly something, but it wasn't good.
I don't know what that means that you lost your spark, though.
I just don't know what I want to write anymore.
And you can't find anything.
That's part of why I'm here. I was also invited, former Master of Ceremonies, so I'm to give speeches. What about you? Are you just celebrating the festival?
One of my men is a candidate. My tenants, helping him to run a campaign. Former tenants.
Oh. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
If you make it into the tribal election, perhaps I could, I don't know, write something for you.
Yes, I'm sure you could.
We'll
I
see.
believe that And regardless, you should come have dinner some.
I'll probably take you up on that. I've been going from estate to estate. I've been staying with Aeolian Jejin for a couple of weeks. Before that, I was with the Athiuses. Before that, the Luctarans, the Stravos. Before that. So I'll probably work my way over to yours eventually.
Yes, well, you'll be welcome when you do.
He nods. His vibes do not encourage you for the upcoming election.
Yeah.
You need good vibes, not depression vibes.
Yeah, I didn't know how do I cheer him up. You were only on a slave ship for a few months. Yeah,
yeah, and I mean, your relationship with him is more like, here's money, make me good thing, less so like, I'm your friend.
Yeah, but I'll only make good thing if he's inspired.
Before
he leaves, I'm gonna say Well, why don't you write something depressing then, if that's the mood you're in?
Well, I did that. Last time I did that, I did get banished and then unbanished.
That did happen.
And
And
then the
what
time
was
after
that
that, when
for
I was
again?
very excited and I spoke of love and romance, I was also banished from the city.
So it sounds like you can be banished either way.
That's the secret. You gotta be right in the middle line of what people like at that exact moment, or else they'll banish you. I'll figure out something.
A play about sad pirates.
That's what he made!
Oh, my bad.
Oh, man. Well, would you guys... there's a long list of people to speak to if you would like to. So rather than, like, list them off verbally, I'm just going to drop, like, a general list. So there are Stratagoy candidates that you could talk to. There is a former Stratagoy guy that is, like, overseeing that. There is the heads of the Plains factions. So those being, like, the Luktara family and the Atheist clan, and then your guys' personal contacts. So like Odnos, your whole family, Midian, your whole family, Akmanax, Achilles, he's the only person who came. Do you guys want to talk to any of those people before we move on to the second day?
I want to talk to my family and just ask them to and pump my guy because I gave them a boatload of gold.
Yeah, your whole clan, the clan of Chao Maleros is here. There are some voting people, there's about 10. But in terms of total families, there's about 30 people of the Chao Maleros family here. Your great uncle, his whole kid, his whole like lineage, your aunt, her family, your cousin and his father and his family, and then your whole main family. That's about 30 individuals. And they all centered around Maris. They're sort of like clustered in the play area. And when you go over, they will say absolutely. They will cheer on your candidate because, you know, $1.5 million split across 30 people is a good amount of money. It's about 50 grand per person. So they'll be more than happy to cheer on Midian.
Yeah. Does my great uncle have any?
He is dead silent. He has nothing to say. At this point, he's just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Also, he needs to conserve
It
his
would
energy
be
because tomorrow...
unreasonable to say he was dead. Yeah.
It's true. Plus, tomorrow he has to talk a lot, so he's conserving his energy. Because he's one of the 4 DMarks that like runs the whole election part.
Good idea or bad idea to talk to Keption?
Keption is the one that's a phony, right? Didn't serve.
Well, he served but never saw combat.
Right.
Or
Yeah. Fraudulent service.
Not quite, but sure. If Nick wants to play that, it might as well. Be.
Like Mickey Mouse service.
There you go, Mickey Mouse service.
Yeah, that's
He was in like the color guard or whatever.
yeah.
What is that? I don't know what that is. Did I say something offensive?
No, it's basically kind of right-ish.
Okay.
Kind of.
I'll go introduce myself to him and see how
so
he is.
since it's not the election day, Keption's not in his any military garb. He's just sitting in front of a stand that sells street corn, basically just corn with a fuck ton of seasoning put on it. He hands them over a couple of pence. He has a young boy with him, maybe like 7 or 8, and you walk over, and you know he can tell that you're approaching him. So he says, hello.
Hello, you're Keption, no?
Yeah, he gives you a broad smile. He's a handsome guy, you know, mid-30s, bronze skin, sort of clean-shaven face, like wavy black hair. Yep, that's me.
Yes, well, it's nice to meet you. I'm Odnos of the Calmaleros.
I think I've heard about your son, Luznos, right?
Yes.
Yeah, me and him were, we were acquainted in the Pargladel War. We never did much together.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I didn't know. Well, I wanted to come introduce myself. I don't know if you've heard, but I've been rather backing of Midian, one of your opponents.
Yeah. It is what it is. I hope you vote for me.
I'm sorry to say I won't, but I will be hospitable.
It's all right.
So, I hear you've been Luktara clan has been saying that they'll back you so far, yes?
Yep, they've been quite generous with me. And he'll pick up his son a little bit. So now he's like hoisting a son in one arm and a corn on the cob in the other.
Yes, for now, they've been helping you for now. That's very good. Yes, Midian's done quite well. I've told him he no longer has to pay rent for the rest of his life, so he's done good.
Very generous.
Yeah.
Well, it was a pleasure meeting you.
Yes, he as well.
I'll give you a nod and a smile and walk away.
All right.
Do you feel bad about ordering Midian to deconstruct him?
No, not at all. I didn't want to deconstruct him because I thought it might look bad if I did, but
Alrighty.
hopefully Midian will.
Well, Akbanax, on this first day, you find the festival to be unengaging. There is no public area of debate. It is instead gluttony, debauchery, watching of plays, harmless
Oh, the
fun.
plays even philosophical? No, you said
they're
they're all
comedies.
comedies.
They're base comedies.
Dude. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
But as you head past the central courtyard, close to where the voting will eventually take place, you see a man sitting on a stool, a bard. You can tell this, not because he has any instrument or anything, but because he is verbally lacerating each person that walks past him. Someone else must have employed him, because you're pretty sure he's not the one that you recommended to Odnos. And as you approach, he says, "You're Akbanax.
I am.
I actually composed something for you. I heard there was a chance that you'd attend if you give me a moment."
Fine.
He, strikes a pose that looks worryingly similar to the pose that you do when you're giving lectures to your students. "To hang around killing time in pretentious conversation and hair-splitting twaddle is the mark of a man who's lost his mind."
Thank you. I'm going to keep walking.
You continue along the road, and you can just barely, hear his voice in the distance as someone else passes within his aggro radius, and he says, "Ah, that's a wonderful woman on your arm. How much did she cost?" And you continue walking through the festival.
So what is the
avoiding that
point of a
bard.
bard doing this?
Talk shit. That's literally the purpose. It's funny, and people enjoy it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, medieval jester head ass.
Nice.
It also,
I've been saying that.
if a person reacts negatively to being made fun of by a bard, that is seen as the ultimate way of I got you, you were offended. The former dictator of Zuri, Strabo, was quite notorious for not being able to take a joke, and it was one of the things that actually impacted his popularity quite severely. But yeah, so I think that's it for the first day of the festival. It sounds like we made all of our little connections, talk to people, so you can move on to the second day. On the second day, everyone gathers towards one particular section of the festival ground, this being a large open area where people are separated out into their demes. Once in their demes, they're separated into groups of 10, and one person is assigned to count the votes of their group. It's all to kind of streamline the voting process for when it happens. Then, the 4 demarchs of the Paralia, that being your uncle, the guy who nominated you to your current position, and then 2 other demarchs you haven't met, will start the voting festivities. It'll begin with the position of Archon, then to Strategoi, then to Master of Ceremonies, and finally Basilius. It will start with each candidate making a very short opening speech. Then, someone relevant to that position, like for Strategoi, it's going to be the former Strategoi, will make his speech, and then a brief period of open debate, and then voting. Pretty straightforward. So, you guys get to watch the Archon debate take place. All 4 candidates for the Archon position are nominated by one of the Plains factions and heavily supported by them. And the opening speeches seem to be a chance to craft what your vision for the future of Zuri is. Then a person relevant to the position does a speech, and you notice that for the Archonship, that is a former Archon, and what he says is pretty it doesn't endorse any particular candidate, it just endorses a point of view. He says that Zuri should focus more on, counting its pennies and being fiscally responsible than on mega projects, which does directly contradict one of the people running for Archon. Then in the debate section, the moderators pose a question, and then they just go completely hands off and let the people on stage tackle it however they will. And you notice that people with kind of, softer personalities never get the chance to speak. Meaning that Midian, as Ben actually rightly said, will need to kind of get in there and be like, no, wait. I gotta answer this question. And then with that, the debate ends, and finally, voting was held. And voting is done by a simple raise of the hands. 51% or more is needed, and if it's not found, then the lowest candidate is dropped, and you just continue runoffs until someone finally wins. So, is there any? This is mostly this is going to be 90% Nick with no real input from the two of you. So before the Stradigoy election is held, is there anything that you guys want to pass on to Midian?
Ben seemed to do well. Let's see. If people bring up Piov, just say we need to protect allies, but we're not being that committal, so that's a breaking case of glass thing. Yeah, I don't know, Ben, any last tips?
I mean, I thought our platform was straight up like Echialden's a like. I shouldn't be as direct to Echialden. I should be like, places like Echialden.
Thoughts, boys? Because I think, like, if you really need to, you could do that, but I'd say just a generally pro-war, pro-intervention, we need to protect democracy platform.
Yeah, protect. We are going to listen. You don't want to overthink this. You're gonna get up there, and you're gonna say that you are a guy who knows how to do the military. You fought. You've got experience. Unlike these other guys, point out that you are the one with the most experience, and some of these people even have fraudulent experience,
Like Keption.
like Keption. And then you're going to say that that means that if there were to be a war, that we would be well prepared because you'll whip the military into shape, and that way we can defend democracy in the area.
If they bring up that you don't have any, like, large-scale experience or education, just focus on, how the average soldier is, and that you'll have well-informed people to help you to manage things on a higher end, and so, but you will be the ultimate decision maker, and you will. Does this sounding good to Ben? I don't know.
I think it's an edge case. I
Yeah.
would just say that if anybody comes for you with any kind of attack, deny it, and then tell them that they're wrong, and then call them
Attack
stupid.
them. Attack
Yes.
them back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
But I should be dunking Kepsion in my opener.
Yes.
holy.
All right.
Yes. Introduce yourself in contrast to your opponents.
I will
Okay.
load the bullet.
None of these guys have hands-on military experience, correct?
One does.
One does, which
Yeah.
oh, that was the actual
Anaxis of
guy.
Atheus, the
yeah.
main rival, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
Yeah,
Midian, you walk in the direction of the stage. Your whole family is there. 7 other people. Your wife, your kids, even your brother is sober for this circumstance, though that also is because you ran out of alcohol. But you like to think it's there because he's here to support you. And each of them says their goodbyes. Your wife is the last one to bid you good luck. Then you climb the hay bales that form the stage out here in the festival. And as you climb up on stage, the speeches begin. I'm going to skip over it for the first guy, Lycnios, because there's no shot that he wins, and I want to save all of our, human lives. So he basically just talks about how Apar Gladel needs to be giga isolationist, and how forts are the best way forward, and his whole position that he's running on is the construction of 2 forts. That is all Lycnios talks about. Then Keption. Keption steps forward, he gives a big smile to everyone, and then one of the Demarks says, "You may begin." People of Zuri, I think that it's important as we go into this new year that we understand one thing. What we need here in Zuri is a reckoning with the situation of what's to our west. There, the kingdom of Malgotha sits. They do blood sacrifices. They worship demons. They killed the people of Apar and the people of Gladel. They bathe in that blood with each day that we do not reach out. What we need now is unification in the League and acknowledgement of the threat to our west. There will be people on the stage who decry Echialden or Belza or Piave or Godaluca. These are not our enemies. These are our friends in a grand alliance against Malgotha, the true threat which unites us. I would be happy to lead us in a victorious crusade against those evil foes and unite the Dellian League in a way that it hasn't been for centuries. If you want unity, if you want victory in battle, if you want a defeat of our true foes to the west, then you know who to select. And Keption steps back, and they next point towards you, Midian, and you have 1 minute.
Awesome. Members of the Assembly, democracy is in danger. Rising authoritarianism is a threat of our democracy, and it continues to grow as a threat to our democracy, and it grows in the hearts of our closest surrounding neighbors. It's important that we keep an eye on this danger and prevent the threat of tyranny from growing into our very own borders. Now I have rich military experience, and I know how to leverage our military to protect us and prevent us from ever losing control over ourselves, unlike Keption, who has never pointed a weapon at anyone in his life. The seeds of evil threaten us and surround us, and it's important that we, as Zuri, step up and maintain a strong stance against the very against threats to the very core of our democracy. It's time for us to reassert control for
One
those
of
who
the
are unable
demarks
to
raises
represent
their hand.
themselves. And I hope that you consider me. Thank you. Was that a
And-
I think we
question?
got him. I think we got him.
No, it was not a question. It was the end of the speech.
Perfect.
Finally, Anaxis will step forward.
You've heard a lot of talk on the stage today. Every man to my right has less service in battle than I do. They've killed Ath in the Wing. They've killed nobody, and they speak of fortifications. They've not felt what it feels to kill a real man. They don't understand the grit and determination that is needed to go forward knowing that your purpose is to kill. The true threats to Apar are not Malgatha. They're not any other state like Echialden. They're everywhere around us. He speaks of seeds because he is a farmer. He speaks of fortifications because he's an engineer. What we really need is a warrior who knows that your purpose is to kill. Our purpose is to kill in defense of Apar. That means killing Athnaween, that means killing Echialdites, that means killing Piavans, that means killing Beltson. Anyone who threatens the stability of Zuri. A spear in the gut is all that they deserve. And Clan Athias and myself has been protecting Zuri for nearly 40 years, and we're not going to give that up anytime soon.
And he steps back, and there's a bit of a moment as the former Strategoi walks onto stage. Procyon of Aegis. He is about your age, Midion, mid-30s. It's hard to gauge the real reaction from the crowd to those initial speeches. I mean, there's claps from people who support you. You got a couple cheers after yours from the Chalmaleros family. He got some from the Athias family. The Luctera candidate got some from there. It's such like a... There's so many like conflicting loyalties. You can't actually tell what the real reaction of the people who you need to convince to your side is. But the former Strategoi will step forward, and he'll say,
Well, it's lovely to see everyone gathered out on this beautiful day. My remarks will be very short. I just want to say that it's good to see that in my absence in politics, there are people who lift up the sword of Zuri and point towards aggression. Because we can't just sit back and wait for enemies to come to us. We have to defend our city proactively. If we sit behind bastions and fortifications, we'll find ourselves like Apar, without allies and overwhelmed by a foreign adversary. We need to raise an army and defend ourselves. We need to go out towards the seeds, as the candidate Midion pointed out, and we need to deal with them at their root. I would like for anyone selected by this assemblage of fine men to be interested in protecting Zuri proactively. That's all. Thank you very much.
and there's like a universal, all the different factions here are like, woo, yeah, we love you. we love the former Strategoi. Yeah, woo. And for the debate section, you have a couple moments to breathe, Midion, prepare yourself. And one of the demarks, your boss's uncle, Maris, will stand up and say,
At the request of two of the candidates, this debate section will be different to the other elected offices. There are going to be one-on-one debates, speaking of single questions, and then we will move on to other one-on-one discussions. The first will be between Midion of Polensis versus the candidate from the Deme of Lignios.
and the fortification guy steps forward and onto the hay bale beside you, and the Demark counselor sits down, and one of the Demark counselors will speak up and say,
What is your level of military experience?
and the fortification guy will look at you.
I'd say it's sizable. I mean, I fought in the Bush War, and I didn't kill men the way that some of my competition here have done. I killed brutal, barbaric elves that were attempting to make a gruesome public display of the deaths of me and my brothers in arms before I fought our way out.
The fortification engineer will nod and say,
But how does that actually help you lead? Do you have any strategic understanding?
Indeed. I mean, it's about it was a very complicated maneuver to get all of us out in one piece. This is the kind of thing where you start at a small scale and work outwards, and that is how you really start to change the tide as in a large scale battle.
Everyone here is decrying my lack of experience, and yet every man on stage is just like me. I understand the engineering of fortification works. You understand how to stab a man in the belly. How is that going to help you actually command a force on a strategic level? You're proposing a war. This is logistics. This is math. This is the functioning of a human mind, not a strong arm for stabbing with a spear.
Sure, you can sit and put sticks together, but the reality is that we need to build something human. We need to build something with morals. Something sticks and rocks and pointed walls aren't going to do any of that.
And he begins to mouth his response, but the demarked counselor raises his hand and says,
All right. Okay. Next, we will have Keption speak to Anaxis of Athias.
And
Thank God, I thought I was going to be king of the hill.
the next counselor says,
What is the greatest threat facing Zuri?
and based on their starting speeches, I'm sure you can guess, Anaxis says everything. He says that everywhere and everything, everywhere all at once, we're being threatened on all sides, and Keption insists, no, it's Malgotha. I swear, guys, it's only Malgotha. That's the only thing we need to worry about. And, yeah, Keption seems a bit flustered by the end of the conversation because Anaxis continually brings up how Keption has no right to actually figure out what is and is not a threat to Zuri. And next, another demark. This time, it is Maris once again. Will say,
For our second to final question, we shall have Midion speaking to Kleption. What concrete actions do you take to protect democracy?
and Keption will speak up and say,
Well, of course, as my role as Strategoi, I will work to aggressively defend democracy in the Dellian League by fighting the Kingdom of Malgotha.
Please. I mean, I appreciate you speaking on the Seeds of Evil analogy, because, I mean, rich military experience is fantastic, but how can we trust a crop that we've planted in soil for so many decades now, and nothing has grown in it in a time of great need for us? This is something where we need to step up and assert control.
You must look at Malgotha. You speak of, other threats in your home, but there have always been tyrants in the Dellian League. What we're dealing with is something beyond a tyrant. Demon worshippers. I feel as if no one here is understanding just how substantial of a threat that is.
Demon worshippers?
Yes. They bathe in the blood of people who oppose them.
Well, we're nothing of demon worshippers, but we will certainly take a staunch stance against those who attempt to oppose us and attempt to make brutal demonic displays of our citizens.
How can you say that any power in the League is a greater threat than Malgotha?
Any threat that stands to hurt us or our people are those that need to be addressed.
There's a moment of silence on stage as he seems a bit flabbergasted and overwhelmed. He feels like, no one's understanding what he's saying, and then you feel like you made your point, so there's just a couple moments of silence, and one of the other demarks, other than Maros, will stand up and say, well, that's more than enough. Well, the final question will be between Anaxis of Athias and Lycnios. What made you run in the first place? And, it's a brief exchange. Anaxis is a warrior. He wants to see warriors control Zuri. And the fortifications engineer wants to see forts built. It's pretty straightforward. Both of them have rather simple motivations. It would have been harder for you to answer that. Probably harder for Keption to answer that, because you both have puppeteers, as it were. But for those two, it's pretty easy to answer that question. And then there is a bit of a pause, a lilt, because prior to the voting of the assembled group, the demarks get the chance to ask for basically an open discussion, and they're deciding if they want to. Midion, as you're waiting for the judges to determine whether they're going to open up to a general discussion of the Paralia, how are you feeling about it?
I wish I had a longer note sheet, but I feel decent so far.
Okay. The demarks determine that because of time constraints, there will be no additional discussion period for the day. So they'll just begin voting outright. In the first round of voting, no candidate passes 51%. The lowest candidate, meaning Lycnios, drops out.
Are we
And
doing ranked choice? That's crazy.
it's not quite that. It's just you vote for whoever you want, and then the person gets... Yeah, it kind of is ranked choice, but the worst way of doing it, which is you have to go through each runoff round.
It really is a fantasy setting.
Yeah, I guess it's instant runoff, not ranked choice.
Yeah, instant runoff, yeah. And during the gap, so this voting takes a while. It's not like immediate. It takes almost 30 minutes to tally up all the votes across the 700 assembled voters. And as there is the gap between the first vote and the second runoff vote, Odnos, walking towards you through the crowd, you will recognize him by clothing, not by his face. Odnos, the other Odnos, the head of the Luctera family. He walks over to you.
Could we perhaps discuss something in the shade?
Yes.
We have a couple of minutes before the next round will be held.
The two of you walk over towards a shaded area. There's a tent that's been thrown up. There are some chairs here where most people are like relaxing between the rounds of voting, so they're not getting sun directly on their head, and he'll sit down across from you.
Well, based on my eyes, I can tell that Kleption isn't going to make it out of this round, but I also suspect that without my help, you're going to lose. So, in this next round, I'm willing to spread the news that everyone in Luctara, as well as our tenants, should vote for your candidate. But, if you actually become Stratagoy, I want to make sure that the Luctara family prospers. That means that if my candidates make it into the general election, I'd like you to endorse them, a joint ticket of Plains faction. And secondly, when the war eventually comes that you are so aggressively fighting for, members of the family Luctara are given looting rights.
Consent.
Alrighty. And you can speak on behalf of your campaign?
Yes.
Alrighty, I'm going to hold you to these. Well, we should get back. We don't want to miss it.
And Midian, it's a bit nerve-wracking standing on stage because you were up there for about 15 minutes for the actual speech and then debate portion, and now you're just standing there over the course of, now it's been like 45 minutes as the different elections are held. First round, you're alive. Second round, voting is held, and Lycnios drops out. You got 48% of the vote. Athius got about 35%. And as the final round is held, that being you directly against Anaxis of Athius, you notice, hands begin to fly up as the counting is done. They basically start from right to left, which mostly in reality means starting with Plains faction people moving towards the Hills faction. You see all of Chalmaleros votes for you. No shockers there. About half of the Plains faction unaffiliated people who are part of minor clans, stuff like that, they vote for you as well. The other half voting for Anaxis. The whole of Clan Athius votes for Anaxis, which is 30 votes, and then all of their tenants. So by the time you're at about the midpoint of the crowd, you're outnumbered 2-1. However, as they get towards unaffiliated Hills faction people, you're getting a lot. And by the time you get to the end, there are 700 people here, and you win by 360 votes. By 10 people. By 10 people, you are pushed above the majority. It was close, and without the change-up of Luctara, you most likely would have lost. But with that, the Anaxis will walk across the stage and extend a hand towards you.
I meet it, of course.
Yeah, he'll hardcore grip your hand.
You better not fuck this up.
I won't.
You probably will. And then he'll turn towards the crowd and give a big smile as he keeps his arm around your shoulder. Oh shit, we're doing a strength check. Let's see how he does. Let's see how Anaxis does. No! He got out-strengthed! No! But yeah, he puts his arm around yours and says to the crowd,
I'm glad that a proper member of the Plains faction has won today, and I look forward to defending Zuri.
And the crowd, cheers, and everyone can kind of unite behind that rough message. Do you have any final remarks before you disembark from the stage, Midian?
Nah, I don't.
Alrighty. You just descend from the stage. You are pumped with adrenaline.
With a wave,
Yeah, there's adrenaline and nervousness. The moment you take a step down, you are swarmed by your family members. And then over the course of the next couple hours, you have a lot of people to shake hands and talk to, because Luctaras will come up to you, Chalmaleroses will come up to you, Demarks will come up to you. getting selected by the Demark Council is not a huge deal. Getting selected by the Paralia puts you into one of 16 people in the whole of the city that can actually potentially become, a ruling member of it. So you have a lot of babies to kiss and conversations to have. You're basically swamped for the rest of the day, probably the next couple days. You're no longer a farmer. But Odnos, a final sort of scene. You, Maris, the head of the Lutara family, the three of you find yourselves sitting under an awning. It's a bit separated from the main square. Maris and the head of the Lutara family sort of eye each other up and down. And as the elections finishes for the day, Clan Lutara did quite well. Their candidate for Stratagoy lost, but their candidates for Archon and Basilius both won. And
were those the ones who were members of their family?
yeah, the two that they've supported most heavily. And the head of the Lutara family, Odnos, will say,
Well, it's been a profitable day for us. I was speaking to your great nephew here, and he made a couple of promises. I'm been assured that you can fulfill those. And your great uncle will side-eye you. If they're reasonable. Well, then I propose that we make a joint ticket, similar to how the guildsmen seized office by riding on a wave of pro-worker fervor. I think that we should ride on a pro-war fervor. We're going to be locked into this in the future together, and I assume you have no problems with that.
Your great uncle nods, and the head of the Lutara family will extend a hand towards you, Odnos.
I look forward to working together in the tribal election. Make sure you consult me before you make any major decisions.
Yes. I look forward to working together.
And he'll smile, stand up, and walk away. Your uncle will side-eye you.
Yeah.
It was necessary, but I don't like it.
Me either, Uncle.
Perhaps it would have been better to secure a financier. Suppose it's too late now, though. And Akbanax, as everyone else is as Midion's being carried away on a tide of victory, and Odnos is grappling with the last-minute agreement he made that's now changed the course of the campaign. What's Akbanax doing to celebrate?
I think that I will go exercise.
Alrighty. You head out towards an open field. You start to do some push-ups. You hear the cheers of the crowd, and eventually that evening, when you eventually return to your house, you find a new motivation. Next time, you're gonna cure that guy of some ghosts.
I'm gonna find this freaking ghost.
You're gonna cure that guy of some fucking ghosts. Alrighty, well, by the skin of our teeth and some very last-minute backroom dealings, we made it through the Paralia election. Some things could have gone better, but who cares? Because at the end of the day, you made it through. Yeah, we did it by the skin of our teeth.
Yeah.
Easy clap, easy clap.
Next time will be sort of like the part one of the general election, because there is so much to do for the tribal election. There's tons of, you have like 4 months, I think, until it. So lots and lots of stuff to do. And then the session after that will be the final tribal election itself. So lots of things to handle, but we'll deal with all that next time. I think that's all we got for now, though. So any final things to say?
Rate me on a scale of 1 to 10, commenters.
Everybody tell Jackson that I gave really good advice to Nick, because I don't think he believes me.
Well, I think that's all we got.
Say who you'd have voted for in the comments.
Yeah, true. Anaxis of Atheus or...
Dude, yeah, where are my real Anaxis heads at? Dude, I bet we got a bunch of Anaxis heads in the comments.
Dude, maybe we got some Keption heads in there. He's so hot. He has to
That's
be
true.
Stratagoy.
Keption was humble.
Listen, I don't like demons either, guys. He was cooking there.
Yeah. Alrighty, well, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.